Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SMITE Masters. We've just seen our first team graduate through to tomorrow's set of games. Big congratulations to them over there. But now, Charlie, we've got the Nifleheim Wargs here versus Hex Mambo for that second slot.
It's going to be an interesting one for sure, because if you're familiar at all with the EU SCC, it went a little something like this. The Wargs were on top. They were looking good, and honestly, Mambo were having trouble even finding wins. And then towards the latter half of the season, the Mambo decided, hey, we're just going to turn up and we're just going to simply start winning. And I believe the Mambo 2-0'd the Wargs in season. This is different though. This is where, as you mentioned, this is where the muffins are on the line. So we're going to have to see which one of these teams decides to show up this time around.
Playing for all the muffins. It's always the most high-stakes game. It's the one that matters. And that is exactly what this is. This is going to be our first elimination set of the day. As you can see from the bracket, the Eldritch Hounds already moving on into Group 4. They're going to be facing up against the Scarabs and the Valkyries tomorrow. This game here is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be to face up against the Wardens, who they just beat. The Wargs and Mambo now have to try and win these next 2 games, or potentially next 3 games, depending on how this goes, to not get out of the tournament. That's what this is about right now.
If any of that looked confusing to you, simply, they can't lose. And if they do, they go home.
That's right.
Yeah.
If they lose, they leave. If they win, they have to play another game where if they lose, they leave. And if they win at that one, then they get to go through.
I'm glad that you dumbed it down for me.
You're welcome. You were confused from the graphic. I thought I would help you out.
Well, I understand, but looking at both of these rosters, I mean, it's going to be a tough one because, again, the Wargs look so good in the regular season, but then it really seemed to me like Hex Mambo didn't want to reveal too much of their strats. They weren't taking it as seriously as we know they can, because it's such a story team. They have so much name recognition on the Hex Mambo roster, being Deathwalker, Johnny, Zeros, and Trixtank, and Echrome obviously as the Hunter. So just a very strong team that started looking so good towards the end of that season. And here they are. They made it this far. Scared that they're 1 game from elimination, but that's pretty much the name of this game. They have to be playing at their best at all times.
And up against them is our other EU team from today. It's going to be the Nifleheim Wargs. That's Preds right there on your screen, alongside Spudio the Hunter, Sarpe the Jungle, Angry the Mid, and Connor over there in that solo lane role. And if you're wondering who that Scotsman is standing behind me, that is Kermakael, their coach, who's here. Definitely not abusing them verbally during picks and bans.
I mean, that's what a coach is trying to do, make sure they're doing the right thing. I'm not going to say that they're supposed to be abused. That was your words, not mine.
I mean, we all saw the video from the other day.
That is true.
A lot of swearing.
A lot of what he said did have to get bleeped. I'll never know what he said, and I don't want you to repeat it to me, but at least he's got the team, operating on all cylinders, ready to play this game.
And he's going to be leading them through picks and bans here for game number 1. Let's see what these 2 teams are going to be prioritizing. Charlie, we've been seeing a lot of different priority picks from these 2 teams. Specifically, one of these auto-attack-based junglers for Johnny. We've been seeing him lock one of those in first pick a lot. So are you expecting them to go back for that kind of strategy, or?
I mean, I'm laughing that we see a Kumba ban, and not only do we see it, but it makes sense to me, and that's the real funny part about this. Remember, this is an EU versus EU set. We just saw NA versus NA, where the game was a little bit more action-packed, a little bit more, bare bones, if you will, trying to just get after and find some kills early on. Still went a little bit long, but still, it was nonstop aggression. This type of game, Mambo like waiting very long before they get aggressive. They are trying to farm as much as possible and say, hey, Fire Giant, we'll peek our heads out. But if it's not Enhanced Fire Giant, we're not really going all out for that one just yet. So I'm interested to see if the Wargs want to try to play against that or just adhere to that style as well and say, we'll also draft for the late game.
Well, what I think is interesting is Mambo actually banning away 2 characters that they would normally prioritize. The Nemesis and the Kali taken away from the Wargs and the Mambo this time around at the first round of picks and bans. Wargs deciding to go for more of a support-based targeting system, getting rid of the Kumba, as you highlighted, and the Geb as well. The final 2 bans from each of these 2 teams are going to be the Tiamat and the Baba
We will
Yaga
use this power
taken away.
wisely.
But Mambo are going to opt for that Jingwei, probably the strongest hunter in the meta right now from what we've seen here. Super highly prioritized, and the Wargs are going to run over to the Clio and the Yamoja for a little bit of flex pick.
I mean, so far, because of the bans that we're seeing, where it's not really the high top tier, top of the tier list style picks that are being banned away, we're seeing Jingwei, who, as you mentioned, is looked at as one of the best hunters in the game. Kleena, which is arguably one of the most contested solo laners in the game, and Yamoja. I mean, Geb and Kumba are taking bans, and Yamoja is getting through. What a world we live in, but that's just because Trix tank is annoying. I mean, there's no other way to phrase that. Kumba Karna is annoying, and Trix tank plays Kumba. That's where we are in life. To be fair, though, the Geb is definitely a Deathwalker ban. That's not what Trix is playing. That is a solo lane Geb that has been taken away.
For sure. And the Sobek here also has a little bit of that flex potential. This is a, your words, not mine, annoying pickup that could very well go to Trix tank in that support role, but definitely not something that Deathwalker would be scared or phased by picking up into that solo role as well.
Yeah, we like to see Trix, well, you know, Trix likes to play these more aggressive Guardians in that lane, try to get beats down, try to be in your face. So I assume, and I, have the data to back this up, that Trix likes playing the Sobek, whereas Deathwalker, this man, he has been playing a lot of these Guardians. The Geb solo, the Geb Walker has been getting through a few times. Also, the Hades. A lot of these different style picks. It's something that you can't really ban out. And if you'll notice, it's really just the Geb that has been banned away. You're not really. How are you going to target down Deathwalker?
I mean, hard. if we really want to go that in depth to it, right? Like maybe if Mambo's in dire straits, we can pull out the super old, flashy Deathwalker pick, the Ares Walker. Super retro. Don't think it would work quite so well in 9.5 here, but the Wargs are going to be able to pick up Thoth here in the middle lane for their mid laner Angry. Definitely not averted to playing this Thoth. Definitely a character he is well versed in. Going up against the Merlin, now picked up for Zeros, which is also a pretty decent pick for him. Some jungle bans taken away here by the Wargs. They don't want to see Johnny back on this Hombats, and after his performance yesterday, can you blame them?
I mean, I couldn't paint this storyline better if I tried. We said that Hex Mambo are playing for late game, and they pick a very late game oriented draft. When does Merlin come online? Not until after like level 12. Yeah, he's got to get items online. He's not an early game mage where it's, first of all, Thoth does crazy amounts of damage throughout the whole entirety of the game. Resetting your cooldowns with hieroglyphic assault is going to make your early game strong, and we know what Thoth does late game. Mercury actually made it through the second wave of bans, something I certainly didn't expect.
Set is available at the moment, although the Apollo's getting hovered here. Now, this is a Johnny
Apollo
classic.
jungle.
I would be surprised to see this be the direction he goes in. Is going to hover the Loki now. The set is also available, but Johnny on Loki, this is, as J-Mac touched on earlier on, a character he played once when he first joined the SPL and then was not allowed to play it until the end of his competitive career at that level.
Well, we will see Deathwalker lock in the Hades, and that's the only place this Hades could go. There's no way that's Trix piloting.
For sure.
That is going to be the just... There we go. I was going to say, is that the Loki lock in? So it will be. We see the full roster that Mambo have gone for. So actually spread out their damage a little bit. Loki is going to come online pretty much at level 5. As Mifflin touched on a bit last time we saw it, you just stealth up to Thoth, make sure you hit that vanish damage, and then you can follow suit with the ult if you need to chase down the evade and punish. So it's very difficult to try and keep track of this Loki if you don't have any sort of stealth, ways to immune the stealth. Is that an Artemis we just heard? I heard Tusky attack and I had to look down.
Yeah, that's a... See, I really like this Artemis so far. 8% pick rate, the 4% ban rate, not valued at all, but has been picked up twice so far for that 50% win rate. So this is a character that can definitely work. I think, is it going to be good into the Jingwei is the real question here. Also, the Sobek has a lot of options for displacement against the Artemis. It's not a very mobile character. Like, I'm looking at Hex Mambo's draft, and I'm looking, a lot of these picks are nearly genetically engineered to kill Artemi.
Multiple Artemi.
Yeah,
I only see one.
Artemises.
Unless the Morgan's in the game, I only see one Artemis. Either way, I just find it interesting that the Wargs have decided we're going to play the late game because, again, Artemis is not going to come online for such a long time as well. They noticed that Hex Mambo started drafting for that later stage of the game. They know they've played against Mambo plenty of times. They know what they like to do in the later stages of this game. So they're saying, we're going to draft a little bit of, these high-level picks that we've seen so much, the Kleena, the Yemoja, the Thoth. Mercury, very contested for both of these teams, so that's going to be a strong one as well. But Artemis, one of the hardest carrying ADCs that is in the game of Smite.
Absolutely. I was saying that these characters are really good at shutting her down, but if the Wargs are able to help Spudio get to that late game situation, I think this could be a really good pickup, combined with the Mercury, combined with the Thoth, with the Yemoja as well. There is a lot of avenues for this Artemis to get set up and to be able to close that gap and deal her damage. And I think if that is something that the Wargs are able to set Spudio up for, this could be disastrous for Hex Mambo.
Yeah, the thing is,
it's if.
The Artemis pick certainly comes with an asterisk, and that is, are you getting to the later game stages where you're even or just a little bit behind? If you're if you're too far behind, it doesn't matter. If you are a hard carry, you don't have the items to back it up, Johnny will just one-shot you. On the flip side, if you are waiting for 30 minutes and saying hey, we're going to fight you later, I mean, Spudio will simply auto a Loki 3 times and he'll just pop. So it really just depends on, are you protecting this Artemis, which you have a Yemoja here. There is going to be some difficulty trying to get to the Artemis, and if you can protect the Artemis long enough, you'll see the damage.
So, Trelly, I'm going to ask you to sum us up here. These two drafts, the Hex Mambo and the Wargs, which way are you leaning?
Well, you didn't really. That's just a blanket statement.
Yeah, you're saying you've seen the draft, you've seen the picks and bans.
You're saying who's going to win?
I'm telling you, which of these two drafts do you think wins just on the picks themselves?
The Wargs.
The Wargs.
You gave me the
We're going to have to see it as we get into game. Let's go. Game number 1.
Game 1 between Hex Mambo and Wargs, and Blazy's got to learn the definition of summarize. Apparently. Let me summarize this for you, Ro. Who do you think's going to win?
Look.
I can't drop the ball on you like that. I'm sorry. I can't do that. Hex Mambo have been playing this slow, controlled style of game. Wargs have been playing similarly as well, and we finally get this EU versus EU matchup. The question is, does that extend our games to 60 minutes when you compound EU versus EU, or are we still looking at 30 or so minutes?
I think Wargs are taking a page out of the NA book and they're going and getting some early game now. Look, they've got the Artemis and the Yemoja. Yes, they scale, but they're there for a reason. Artemis isn't leaving that lane for quite a while, whereas on the other side of the map, we've got Connor piloting this Kleena into this very slow Deathwalker Hades, right? Again, he wants to get to level 20. We've seen it before. We don't have to go over it again. So we're going to see Connor rotate around, hopefully, before this Hades gets out of his lane and put the pressure on the map. As well as that, we see the Mercury. You might be able to gank that Hades. We saw it, I don't remember what teams they were, but Mercury at level 5 ganking before these scaling solo laners can get online. But, Johnny, again, piloting the Loki. Again, scaling,
Right.
But he's not up against Oath this time. Oath, I think he had a 10-1 performance in the last time they
met
up. So, we'll see if Sape can, emulate some of that. He's definitely taken a page out of that book.
And there still were moments from Johnny in that last game on the Loki. You're kind of getting run over by the set at points. But there were still moments where the ultimate from Johnny was making some plays happen. I still like this pick for Johnny. Out of the mid lane, we get something for Angry that we know Angry enjoys playing in this Thoth. And then Zeros goes over to the Merlin. So something we haven't seen that much of so far this week out of mid, but still feels like a pretty solid catch-all pick out of mid. You're able to scale up pretty nicely with that as well. And then add some maybe objective shred earlier on in the game.
Yeah, I'd kind of group all those guys together. They all do around about the same thing. Some have more DPS, some have a little bit more burst, but I'd put them on a tier list all in the same tier, and it just, at that point, comes down to personal preference. Angry loves the Thoth. Zeros, I've, coached him before. He definitely loves the Merlin. He has for years.
What's your personal preference? I'm a big Merlin guy.
I'm not much of a mage player whatsoever. Yeah.
What is your main? Have I already asked you this? I forgot.
Warrior, Guardian,
Warrior,
Assassin, a little bit Hunter.
Literally anything but main.
Yeah.
or mid rather.
That's right.
All right, fair enough. But luckily we don't have to be playing that. We just have to be talking about it a little bit. Trix Tank has been on Kumba Karna throughout the day today. We have seen plenty of Kumba picks, but not this game. Trix Tank over on the Sobek. And you've already mentioned Yemoja and how that scales up a bit later on into the game. Sobek, of course, does as well. Very tanky later on in the game. But can still rotate out, find some setup, and maybe create some pressure. You expect maybe Trixtank and Preds to be active once the, I guess, extended early laning phase is over.
Yeah. I think maybe Trixtank a little more active than Preds. Preds will have to rely on that long cooldown that is that ultimate, and Trixtank should be able to find Flux like maybe now even.
That's what he's doing. He's body blocking. He's making life slightly uncomfortable for the Wargs, that's for sure.
I mean, look, the desk called it, right? They said that Kumbhakana was banned because it's a very annoying god. Look at Sobek, right? He's going to stop Preds, or attempt to stop Preds from invading on his own. So we talked about, support saving their hog so they can secure this purple buff, but Ikram does not have a hog on his own, so this might be around about a 50-50.
All right, so Preds use that is beads for Preds. Maybe thinking jungle is close by, and purple buff delayed out should be a purple buff here for Echrome. Pluck has got to be close to being back up, and Pluck right back through the Riptide, but Preds makes it happen a second time. Johnny makes his way to left, ultimate up, but a slow down from Spudio. I don't know if Johnny's got the damage all on his own. Last couple autos, yes he does. And Hex, Mambo, and their jungler rotate to left, beads down on Preds, and that'll be first blood.
Yeah, we're talking value for beads. Preds gets pretty much nothing from him. He gets to annoy Ikram for a little bit, but Johnny comes around and says, you know what, I've got beads too. Beads the Artemis slow, sticks to Preds, and gets the first blood.
Now Sarpé is going to be pulled over here towards left. A level and a kill behind Johnny. So Johnny is just effectively farmed early in this game to hit that level 5 right at the right mark. Sarpé now has it as well, and well, here comes Mercury. Echrome somehow lives through it. Sarpé, though, on the second shot puts him down. Both junglers make their way left, and both come away with a kill.
Yeah, Trixtank did what he could there to get him out, but you know what, just too sharp with the #1 ability from Sarpé.
Now Sarpé can continue to scale up just a bit, drops down the purple buff. Spudio thanking his jungler for it. That's not anything that's even all that hidden, right? That's not the tier 1. I guess it's like slightly like it's the baby tier 1 tower gank for a Mercury, but Echrome just caught unawares. Beads have to go down, and Spudio's able to hang out in lane a little bit longer, depending on how much Spudio can farm up. Could go back, fully get that Devourer's Gauntlet, and could be a real great start here for Duo.
I think Sarpé made a good choice there because, when you're level 5 as Mercury, we've talked about it before, you want to look for a lane to gank. There was already action in that lane, so when you're laning against or playing against a Mercury or a Thor type god where you're waiting for them to hit level 5 and then you're being really careful for their ganks, this Duo lane wasn't thinking about that because there was so much else going on. So Sarpé picking a good opportunity there to take them by surprise and get another kill.
Potential for some awkwardness for Hex Mambo. Every once in a while, you'll see a ward dropped like between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower, even underneath the tier 1 tower, if you're that worried about return ganks. And there is an opportunity, Echrome without beads, but it is a Jingwei, and talked plenty about the safety in that pick. Echrome is able to go back thanks to the passive, pick up the Devourer's Gauntlet, and head back to lane nonetheless. So both junglers have been able to get active pretty early on here, Ro, and looks like stacking item on one side. Johnny sticks with that Transcendence, whereas Golden Blade for Sarpé maybe speeds up his jungle clear here a little bit. But the stacking nature of Transcendence, Johnny just needs a little bit of time and hit a big transformation, a big power spike.
And that one kill will accelerate him towards, getting those stacks as well.
Right.
It makes him get the gold for what is an expensive Transcendence, whereas Sarpé is kind of expected to have that early pressure already. So I think a first blood for a Loki, somewhat unexpected. Granted, it's off the back of Pred's quite aggressive beads usage.
Yeah, it's fantastic from Trixtank and Echrome to set up that moment. Another ultimate through from Sarpé onto Echrome. Wondered if the Jingwei would be able to play a little bit more safe. If nothing else, life uncomfortable. Has Devourer's Gauntlet, but also with that passive, able to make your way back to lane a little bit quicker. And so you're starting to get this idea from Sarpé that the left side of the map is maybe the most susceptible to ganks. Again, beads down. Unsuccessful on the kill this time, but still makes life difficult.
Yeah, and Echrome was kind of greedy there as well. Saved his ultimate. He didn't have beads, so
Yeah,
if Sarpé had a little bit more damage, which I guess you would expect he wouldn't at this stage, so he was safe saving his ultimate and didn't lose too much health, so he was able to stick around for his purple buff as well.
Like the mindset, though, from Sarpé. Ultimate right back up. Let's send it back towards left one more time. That window is now closed. Echrome with the beads back. That said, if you're fine trading out your ultimate for beads, it works out there as well. Trixtank dodges out the trap, but gets a pluck onto Spudio. Knock up with the tail whip. Dash forward from Echrome. There's an airstrike here. Tusky stuns out too, but Spudio in a real bad spot. And at this point, it's just about dealing the damage for Hex Mambo, and Echrome will pick up the kill. And that is the immobility of an Artemis capitalized.
It is, and look, we got to give credit to Trix as well. He's hitting those plucks on relatively high ping on a person that's relatively hard to hit. You know, Artemis with that movement speed, who knows that Sobek is there, is juking around. Trix Tank also has to avoid a trap, so well done by him to hit that pluck and secure that kill.
Spudio, not sure if he had beads, just got off cooldown, but at any rate, we'll walk back into lane with beads now. How about the dual lane in the first 8 minutes of this game? We are so used to either nothing happening or something happening, and then nothing for a whole lot of time. Really have seen more action over in duo than I'm used to. That is all netted E-Chrome. About a 1-level lead, but gold hasn't flipped that much. Sarpei sends an ultimate right towards mid, but Zero's able to back away. Wow, it's literally not netted anything. We are as even gets. Literally 1 experience for Hex Mambo, and then a couple hundred gold for the Nifleheim Wargs. So things have really started to stabilize.
And if you're Mambo, you're happy with that, right? You are, you know, battling for getting these 2 Boomers Hammers online once again, as their strategy has been this whole tournament. So being even at 8 minutes is much better than being 2-3k behind like they have been in previous games.
If I'm Deathwalker, my goal is to get the Bumba's Hammer without having to sell off my Bancrofts at some point, right? That game was going so horribly wrong that you had to sell off the Bancrofts just to get the Bumbas, and it was probably the right call in the moment, but the stabilizing of the solo lane this time around, because I think Deathwalker was like 0-2, 0-3, something like that.
Much less action.
Much less action over on the right side of the map, and maybe to no surprise, E-Chrome the one benefiting from a lot of the early pressure, and Spudio back left to just farming up. So we do start to see some supports rotating out of these lanes here. Zeros receives a little pressure a moment ago from the Mercury. Angry, not much has gone that direction yet. I'm intrigued by Zeros' build path here, though, because goes 2 tiers into the artifact, abandons that, and then ends up Divine Ruin with the first item overall.
Yeah, I guess just decides or remembers he needs anti-heal for this cleaner. He's going to need anti-heal later for the Emoja and this Artemis lifesteal as well. So, you know, a little bit weird order. Maybe just had that amount of gold and couldn't resist.
Yeah, you know what? And sometimes it's just that simple. It's just I had the right amount of gold for this item, and why not go ahead and buy it and cycle back and pick something else up a bit later on. Charon's Coin has been a very popular start, as we see Angry opt for here. Not much fighting around mid, so we likely are going to have to wait a little bit to see some stacks build up on that, unless Angry can make something happen here. A rare miss from Trix Tank on the pluck. He is now lurking in the waters, and River's Rebuke near perfect. But Trix Tank able to get out. Oh, how about that Riptide right into the Sonic Boom? It's unreal from Preds. Final Judgment canceled out, though, by Angry. And Trix Tank able to dash away.
I need to give some credit to Johnny there as well. I think he's the one that scared Angry from that first ultimate, so he cancelled it as soon as he heard the Loki dash, the Loki stealth. And then I believe it was Zero's knocked him up out of the second ult charge. So Trix Tank able to walk away. You know, I guess Preds could have had a better ultimate there, but that Riptide afterwards was great.
Yeah, it was perfect from Preds to just lock Trix Tank in place. But the Sobek already showing you a little bit of that tankiness. Granted, the itemization for the carries hasn't quite caught up to that point just yet. But I do like a shifting of the minds here a little bit. Eyes starting to tilt a little bit closer to mid. And Zeros does end up going back, finishing up that Charon's Coin. You don't miss much for that. No stacks to be built up over in mid just yet at any rate. But Sarpei continues on with his build here. Stone Cutting Sword on the back end of a Golden Blade. What does that tell you about the way he wants his build to go?
Like, he can do a lot of objective DPS. He's going to start building that crit as well. You know, we've already talked about it before, the Sino-esque gameplay. If he can call those objectives, they can burn him up pretty fast. They just need to bring the Artemis over, and that's, I guess, the Artemis over and then the Thoth for the Secure as well. But they're cleaner on the objective DPS from her ultimates as well if she can manage to rotate to that Gold Fury early. She's already got a level lead over in the solo lane. Won't make too much of a difference right now, but, you know, if she can get some physical defense online, then her confidence will go up and she'll be able to fight at those Gold Furies. Probably before Hades will be.
Well, the first trebuchet of the game gets confirmed from the Nifleheim Wargs, and again, we've started to build up a data pool on the different ways of that being used. Potentially can send that, but you've mentioned you don't love it over on left because the hunters can deal with it somewhat effectively, but at least draw some eyes depending on objectives that you may or may not be looking for. So we'll see how the Wargs use that in moments moving forward. E-Chrome with a nice 2-level lead over Spudio over here on the left side of the map, and Johnny starting to send a rotation that way. There are a couple of wards there. Spudio should be privy to something going on. Airstrike cancels out Tusky, but Spudio with the well-timed beads avoids the stun, and there was no room for error for that Artemis. and Spudio's able to walk away.
Yeah, if he didn't hit that trap just blindly on that Loki after that ultimate, if he didn't chain his beads perfectly with his ultimate as well, he was going to get hit by one of those CCs. And went straight back into fighting into mid lane as well.
Right over towards mid, but
Just
no
bluffing.
follow-up this time. that is a high investment bluff. We're going to send our ult right down mid, and Zero's able to walk away yet again. And so Sarpei has started to move his attention from left towards mid a little bit. Now we've seen the Sonic Boom gank a couple of times onto this Merlin. And if I'm remembering correctly, I haven't seen a set of beads burnt off the Merlin just yet. He's been able to just walk away.
If I'm honest, that's apart from the first blood he got, which was a great choice while that lane was busy thinking about other things. I would prefer if these Mercury ultimates were going towards the solo lane, put that pressure on the Hades, you know. I guess Cleaner already has the lane pressure, so she doesn't need it, but I don't think there's many kills going to be happening in mid. You know, he's got the beads, he's got the jump, and I guess Hades now has beads as well, and he's always had that jump, so he's running out of lanes to gank, and he's going to get to the point where his main job starts to become, you know, less gank heavy and more objective based.
Right, and you mentioned kills maybe slowing down in mid. We could be entering that stage of the game where kills just slow down in general here in this game, as they have outside of the first few minutes of this game. Over in duo, saw a little bit, and the early jungle kills have resulted in a slight lead for the Wargs, despite being down in that one kill. The Pyromancer started to be pulled a little bit earlier than the Gold Fury, and though mid pressure continues. Looks like both teams will be happy just to poke and prod at one another a little bit. Looks like mirrored mid lane builds as well. But point being, we have seen the Pyromancer start to be emphasized a little bit. Wonder could see Trebuchet convert some pressure towards left, send the Wargs over towards right. And maybe that's where some of this objective burn from Sarpei could play.
Yeah,
but Zeros also has that opportunity.
Yeah, either that or Connor, you know, decides I'm an assassin, I'm going to rotate faster than this mage in my lane. But we're straight into the action as well. Looks like they caught Trick Tank out.
But Trickstank was able to get out of this last time, and looks like we'll be able to get out this time as well, though a nice Riptide from Preds, unfollowed up by the rest of the team. Sarpei has just run down Zeros. Finally, the Mercury has been able to catch out a target, and it's Zeros who's been fishing for the last few minutes. Is it an immediate pullback to the Gold Fury?
Yeah,
it is.
Finally, we're seeing Connor rotate
right.
as well. Now he gets to use his DPS. He's still holding both ultimates, and he can actually blow them both up here.
And Deathwalker way far away from this fight, so numbers advantage to the Wargs. Hex Mambo steal the Gold Fury away. What a disaster for the Wargs, and it is a basic attack from E-Chrome that steals the Gold Fury away, and where was a massive advantage for the Wargs now falls by the wayside, and a big uptick for Hex Mambo.
Yeah, I mean, not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, but we've talked about Mambo wanting to scale, and this buys them a ticket to that late game, you know. They were in a losing position there. They lost, it wasn't Trickstank, it was Zeros who lost his beads as well, you know, and Trickstank was poked out, so he wasn't going to be in that fight.
Wow.
That was essentially a 5v3, if not worse, because Deathwalker couldn't rotate over, but E-Chrome comes up big and just steals it with a maybe lucky crit.
You will call it lucky.
Yeah.
You know, you got the Wind Demon, a little bit of crit chance in there. Pred's under a little pressure, but Zeros and Trickstank won't be able to combine for enough damage. And that's really where it feels like a lot of the advantage has been for Hex Mambo, with E-Chrome a 2-level lead here as of late. Everywhere else feeling somewhat even across the map, and again, lucky crit, as Sarpei's gotten one as well. And Zero's punched in the jaw and then knocked down by Angry. And this is like the 4th or 5th attempt at a mid lane gank, and finally they're starting to strike some pay dirt.
Yeah, I mean, this time he has no beads and he connects the ultimate, so that's what it takes. But still, they're not looking for much else on the side of the, like in terms of objectives, you know.
Right.
In fact, it was Mambo who just got a trebuchet for themselves. That's going to be in the mid lane now.
Yeah, could send that trebuchet on its way. Wargs still sitting on theirs. Surprising, because the last, I guess you're not really in a position to immediately pull the Pyromancer, but the last kill onto Zeros was an immediate Gold Fury pull, rather. Happens again. And instead, the Nifleheim Wargs this time just back off and start to steal away some of that jungle farm. First bit of pressure finds its way onto Deathwalker, but tanky enough with some of his physical defense to avoid it. And it does end up being a Pyromancer pull.
He avoids the death, but he still gets forced back to base, so they're able to get the pressure, get that Pyromancer, and swing the gold back to, well, even.
Yeah, just about even at 17 minutes, Ro. How many times have we seen that here this weekend? Johnny was close by, not close enough by, though, to make a steal attempt on that Pyromancer. Spectral Armor picked up early for Deathwalker here. Makes some sense. Sarpei and Spudio both going into crit early on in their builds. Only two who realistically are going to be building crit and so Deathwalker trying to put the odds in his favor a little bit. We've already seen some lucky crits, and let's mitigate those as best we can.
He's not going to be able to move during that ultimate, so he is going to be getting hit during that ultimate. Artemis, one of the highest DPS characters in the game, will rail him pretty much. But so will Thoth, who he doesn't have much magical defense just yet.
Whoa, E-Chrome, speaking of getting your health bar whittled on down. Sarpei, without ultimate, obviously had sent a gank towards E-Chrome, but this time, to your point last time, E-Chrome uses the airstrike, keeps the beads in the back pocket, keeps the Aegis there as well, able to go back to base, picks up a short sword, and we'll head back to lane. Thanks to that passive, doesn't end up missing out on too much. Sarpei has started to pick up the activity level a little bit, but I don't know if you can quite say the same for Johnny. It seems like this Loki has really turned into farm mode.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he wants. He just wants to get level 20. He'll get that 40% CDR from the Boombas. He'll have a ton of damage and just be able to 1v1 everybody. Like we saw in the first game that they played against Hounds.
Right.
And, he took a 1v1 against a, 10-0 set and was able to solo him pretty handily. And that was including Athena roll in the set as well. So once this Loki gets to that stage of the game, he's a huge threat. So he's just trying to get there as fast as possible.
Are you taking Loki late game against most of the other assassins?
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
notably a Mercury here? You think that's one that Johnny feels comfortable in?
Look, if Mercury gets lucky and gets a couple punches in, and I guess if in boxing terms, Mercury always has a puncher's chance, right?
That's right. Yeah, you need some crits to roll through, but Johnny with the kit should feel comfortable. And that's a 1v1 I do expect to see happen, because that's so often what we'll see later in the game, the jungler kind of 1v1 split in mid while the rest of the team ends up heading towards left. E-Chrome and Johnny lurking by the purple buff a bit. The Pred's here to mirror out Trick's tank as well. Nothing to be fought over on left. You got the Gold Fury spawning in about, or the Primal Fury this time in about 45 or so seconds.
Look, I'm surprised to see Johnny even there. There isn't too much, so it looks like he's kind of looking for a fight, but both of his back camps are up here, which I'm surprised he's not here farming.
Yeah, and it's going to allow an extension out from Kana. Deathwalker, though, at least secure the back camps for Hex Mambo. Greater Scorpion gets dropped down here, and the Nifleheim Wargs will have to separate out. So both solo laners have been on an island as far as island gets here this game. We have seen no pressure outside of one moment from Sarpei. Deathwalker has been able to build up that defense very effectively, and so we're actually going to get a look at what a real Deathwalker Hades looks like later on in the game here. That said, same for Kana. Spectral armor now added to the back pocket. The Queen is going to be tanky, has a little bit of that hybrid damage. You expect to see some impact from these solo laners here soon.
Yeah, look, Connor had his chance as well at that goal too, which unfortunately was stolen away from him from E-Chrome, but he did his job and was able to rotate and get his team to start that Gold Fury. But that was his chance, that's the heartbreaking part of having a Gold Fury like that stolen away, that's the work he put in. That's part of the reason he picked this god, because he has those opportunities in the early game. And when it gets stolen away like that, it's, pretty unfortunate.
Not a lot of variety in the Nifleheim Wargs relic choice. A whole lot of beads, and then a singular relic that is not an Aegis, and that's the Sprint for Preds. Slight variety for Hex Mambo. A bunch of beads, but then some blanks, Aegis, Shell. Of course, both carries will be beads and Aegis here in this game. Sprint for Preds. What in your mind is that founding some value against over on Hex Mambo?
I think they just want to be able to move around these abilities is the main thing. I can't imagine they're going to be fighting all in on first commit.
Right.
But unless they find a huge wall from Preds, which we haven't seen too much of yet. Again, Umoja does scale well into the late game, and he has the CDR though, so he could be forced to his ultimate still.
Oh, Sarpei and Johnny is the 1v1 we wondered if we would see, and Johnny is feeling fine on it. The shortest Mercury ultimate you'll ever see sends Sarpei 2 inches to the left, but enough damage and mobility, I suppose, from Sarpei keeps Johnny at bay. Well, Johnny wins that, make no mistake, but Sarpei at least able to stay on the map.
Yeah, I gotta be surprised by Johnny not just waiting a second longer out of that tower. He could have walked in, and before the tower hits him, is able to blink after that Mercury. But maybe he thought Mercury, if he ran a straight line away from him, he'd get too much distance. So he just decided to get in that tower and see if Sarpei would make a mistake and let him hit him. But he backs out in the end. I think he could have taken a couple of hits, but maybe he was just scared that he was going to get lucky with those crits.
A nice spike for Deathwalker. Talked about Bumba's hammer. That's now
Finally
purchased for the Hades. Didn't have to sell Bancrafts this time. Feels a lot better. And then Oni Hunter Garb.
And look, he's at the Gold Fury. He's decided to rotate.
He's out of lane. Good to see what Hades is able to do. Maybe strip away some of those beads. Get the ball rolling here for Hex Mambo. As a 5-kill game crests the 22-minute mark. And we are dead even in basically every category that matters. Experience close. 1 level lead for Sarpei. 1 level in mid for Angry. But then a couple levels maybe for Hex Mambo over in the dual lane, and that means experience is about 60 or so.
Yeah, it really feels like we've just loaded into a game, but it's 20 minutes, right? Now both teams are saying, all right, let's play. We're done farming, you know, we're done the PvE part of the game mode. So now we're going to PvP.
Right, we're late game. We got a raid at some point. Our guildmates are on, telling us to go. Well, no, that was what we did in the first part of the game. Now we're PvPing.
Well, now they've collected all their buffs. Yeah.
Right, they've collected all their buffs. They're fully geared out. Bumba's hammer picked up for Johnny as well. And so really big spikes for Hex Mambo going into this next fight, if they are able to capitalize, and could be a capitalization here. Spudio is in a whole lot of trouble. Tusky doing some work, but limited by lurking in the waters, ends up sending over towards E-Chrome, but no help for the Nifleheim Wargs ADC, and that's a clean kill and could be a Primal Fury pull.
That's what they needed. That's why Deathwalker's sitting around here hunting. He's reached his item spike. There's no point farming any longer. He's just going to look for an opportunity that Spudio honestly gave them. He stepped on that wave, and instantly we saw Deathwalker jump. We saw Trix Tank dash straight towards them, and there was no getting out for him.
How impactful is that kill going to be, though? There's a ward down on the Primal Fury. Not an immediate pull from Hex Mambo. Still some time. 30 seconds left on the death timer from Spudio. Now does end up getting pulled out. No ult for Trix Tank, no ult for E-Chrome.
They're worried about the Pyromancer.
Yeah,
That's why.
I don't think the Wargs end up walking in, maybe try to steal the Primal Fury. Pyromancer goes to one side. Hex Mambo grab themselves the Primal Fury. All things considered, maybe the best you can get here if you're the Wargs.
Yeah, I think Mambo were a little slow pulling that Gold Fury. You know, you can send one person over to that Pyromancer and delay them from doing it, but I wouldn't send too many over. You also wouldn't delay the start like they did. But hey, their choice.
And so, the death from Spudio does not break the bank necessarily. Spudio still able to hit level 20, relatively close in items with E-Chrome. About a 1,000 gold deficit between E-Chrome and Spudio, so a slight lead over there in the duo lane. I did expect to see a Soul Gem at some point here for Zeros. He's hit a nice little spike between the Soul Reaver into the Soul Gem, so a little healing, little burst, a little extra CDR in that build. On the flip side, though, the mid lane builds have been mirrored, but Angry realizing that some of that percent pen, big burst damage from the Final Judgment, a bit more important.
Yeah, look, when Hades goes into his ultimate, he gets a lot of protections and a little bit of damage mitigations as well, but mostly protection. So having that extra percentage pen to rip through those protections when he's sitting in that ultimate is pretty important. One thing that I don't know if I'm surprised, but you know, Trix Tank hitting level 17, he's ready to upgrade that startup, but he doesn't have that gold yet. He's bought a tier 1 cloak, and that was just recently as well. So if Preds can catch up in XP, he might actually be holding on to the gold. So if he can get that compassion upgrade before Trix Tank gets his Sentinels upgrade, they could have a small teamfight advantage.
Yeah, pretty impactful. Actually, the 2-level difference in the support role at this point. Once, it is impactful. Once Trix Tank is able to actually upgrade that starter item thanks to his gold.
He's got 280 gold right now, so it's going to take some time.
Yeah, he's a little bit off. Takes a little bit of time for us supports to spool up that gold and upgrade that starter item. Though there is a hover over here by the Fire Giant. Hex Mambo close by as well. Nifleheim Wargs not very far behind here in this game. Everyone has their relics ready to go. A Trebuchet finally started in this game, and it's actually Hex Mambo who've had it less amount of time, send it towards mid, and it helps knock down a tier 1 tower, and the Wargs just kind of watch it.
Yeah, like Deathwalker's like playing between and trying to look for somebody again, and kind of guarding that Trebuchet as well. Now Johnny as well guarding that Trebuchet when Angry walks up to hit it. It's losing its health. I don't think it'll do much to this tier 2, but hey, at least it got a tier 1.
Again, a couple crit builds for the Nifleheim Wargs. As long as you're not hitting Deathwalker and Trix Tank, which is unfortunate because that's who's going to be up front, should be getting some good value out of those crit items. Bit of cleave damage from Kana. Forces Deathwalker and Trix Tank back just a little bit. Looks like a reset here from Hex Mambo.
It's a relatively effective Trebuchet, right? Because it's making Wargs think. They keep going back towards that mid lane, but they're too scared to leave that Fire Giant. You know, they don't want to give them too much space. They don't want to give Johnny and E-Chrome too much space to DPS that Fire Giant. Otherwise, they could kill it in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, Hex Mambo, they have the DPS. Between a Merlin, a Loki, a Jingwei, you can send your damage there and zone out the rest of the Nifleheim Wargs. But looks like the Wargs are going to be able to hover on this side. There's still that Trebuchet chilling on left.
We haven't seen that activated
Yeah,
yet.
I mean, at this point, you're on the opposite. It's not going to be as effective. Well, maybe it could be as a full fire wave, something like that.
Nobody goes over there, yeah.
Wonder if we see that activated at some point by the Wargs. No teleport means It's going to be difficult to do that and rotate back into this Fire Giant quickly. Sarpei did just send Sonic Boom towards Johnny.
I think it was a miss, and now Johnny's getting some confidence, getting an immediate
Wow.
Aegis out of Mercury as well. You know, that's great
Yeah,
value.
that is lopsided.
Johnny has not had to use anything. That's a Mercury ult down, that is a Mercury Aegis down, but a lot of poke back onto Zeros.
Unfortunate for Hex Mambo, Zeros then has to use his beads and flicker away. So you get an advantage on one side, an immediate advantage back towards the other. Though if Zeros plays positionally correct enough, beats can kind of be avoided there. You really need that Sonic Boom, that Aegis to be there for Sarpei.
Right now, Zeros is just really glad that Sonic Boom is not up right now because he's just used his beads and he's like, oh, thank you, you forced Mercury ult in mid lane so I don't have to worry about. But, you know, that Sarpei has his ultimate coming up in, you know, much less time than Zero's beads will come up.
Hovering over on left was Sarpei a second ago. Trebuchet is started. Spudio gives it a tap and sends it on its way over towards left. But the Gold Fury is going to be up in 40 or so seconds. Pyromancer's not going to be that far behind that either. The Wargs and the Mambo, and that's where the call could get iffy because this time the DPS is there to start up one of these FGs. I don't know if you can completely abandon this side of the map to hope to confirm a Primal Fury over on left.
Yeah, I mean, this Trebuchet should get, you know, maybe some towers on its own, but it's going to take a long time, and, I mean, this game is going on for a long time. We've seen 6 kills in 30 minutes.
What do you mean, Ro? This is a breakneck pace game. I can hardly keep up.
I mean, good thing for Preds, he's getting closer to the level 17 mark. I don't think he spent his gold. That's right, still has 2,100 gold in the pocket, just trying to farm up to level 17. That Compassion, a pretty big item spike for them.
Wow, it's a Trix Tank again.
He's not waiting around.
No, chooses to keep upgrading the robe and not upgrading that starter item. And Preds at level 16 has a whole mountain of gold ready to upgrade here.
Now he's just fighting the temptation to go back and buy another full item.
Yeah, why not, right? And Heart Ward picked up for Preds.
There it is.
Well, right, at level 16 you can't do it anyway, so at least you're going to go into this next fight with a Heart Ward. That'll really help out.
That tells me he thinks
Deathwalker
he's on limited time. He doesn't have enough time to get level 17. The enemy team is going to force a fight soon. Yeah,
right.
So. But hey, look at this Trebuchet getting some work done.
There you go. Knocking down some towers over on left. Sarpei low. Johnny, though, low as well. A very close 1v1 between these two junglers. Kana left alone. Dash forward from E-Chrome. Aegis used by Kana. So junglers at half HP, but Kana between the two soul laners much, much lower. I don't allow Hex Mambo to step forward a bit.
Yeah, and Deathwalker not starting Fire Giant there. He's just hitting it to get his...
Oh, I got the tower. Nice.
Yeah, it did. Deathwalker just hitting these objectives to get his Pumbaa's cooldown going.
Pyromancer.
It was worth a shot from Angry, but Pyromancer goes to the Mambo.
Yeah, I suppose if you're using your final judgment there, you're realizing that a massive brawl is not about to break out. So this is where if Hex Mambo are able to go back and reset, you got Jingwei passive and you've got Pyromancer, probably time to consider something with the Trebuchet, but you can't. When the Nifleheim Wargs are on the enhanced Fire Giant for 20 seconds, it's been enhanced. Massive objective, and the Wargs realizing a quick reset from Hex Mambo could be punished, but immediately the Wargs have to back off.
I mean, now I think is the time for Johnny to press his go button. We've got no Thoth ultimate, we've got no Artemis ultimate,
right?
But I guess he has no beads from that 1v1 with that Mercury, and that was a close 1v1. If Mercury gets those crits, he reduces that damage, he slows the Loki, and if he gets 2-3 crits in a row, he could just 3-shot that Loki.
Wow, the trap not as impactful as I thought it might be. Deathwalker steps on it and takes a tickling of damage, but that's about it. Trebuchet still on its way over on left. Will deal a little bit of damage to that left side tier 2 tower on the Hex Mambo side of the map. Everyone on Nifleheim Wargs have their actives ready except Kana with none and Angry still without those beads. Relic situation not looking as great over for Hex Mambo. Similar, though, that Trix Tank doesn't have Blink, Phantom Shell down there, and then neither of the soul laners with their actives. Now the tier 2 tower starting to actually take a little bit of chunk damage here, and not much has happened around the FG.
No, I mean, maybe that's their play, you know, just waiting for this Trebuchet to get to a Phoenix, and that forces somebody from Mambo's back. But Mambos aren't waiting around. They're starting to Fire Giant right away.
Yeah, Fire Giant. Remember, this is what we knew E-Chrome, Zeros, Johnny, they could do to the Fire Giant.
So we've leased the Fire Giant, and we've lost the Trebuchet. We're back to step one.
Yeah, we netted a tier 1 tower, right? At least that has changed. And Trix Tank suddenly does press the go button. The ultimate huge from Deathwalker, but he will dash away with nothing to show for it but a low health bar and maybe one more death in the death column. Sonic Boom through, misses Johnny. Spudio's got the second of the fight Hex Mambo, they sought this out, and the Nifleheim Wargs had the answers.
This race went from a walk to a drag race. I don't know
Out
how
of
that
nowhere.
just happened. It was off the back of a huge Deathwalker ultimate, but an even bigger Pred's ultimate cuts off all of the damage that would have followed up from Deathwalker.
Yeah, it was great from Preds. And the River's Rebuke, sometimes you just need one that'll crack the enhanced Fire Giant, and the Nifleheim Wargs get it on all 5. It is back and buy time. And then some towers still to be knocked down. You got tier 2s in every lane. Tier 1 over in mid. Trebuchet opened up a little bit of the damage on left, and a fantastic now spike for the Nifleheim Wargs. Hex Mambo, especially for the next 15, 20 seconds or so, we're just going to have to let this happen until their solo and ADC are back.
Yeah, look, now it's time to win the game if I'm Wargs. You know, you've got the enhanced Fire Giant. Really, that's all you need. I guess they have a lot of towers to go through, and Johnny, for example, still has his relics, still has his ultimate, so
Right.
he can be a big threat. We might even see like some split pushing out of this Loki just to push those waves up and buy time, make Wargs push longer down a lane so they have less time with that Fire Giant once they do get to the enemy base.
This is smart from the Wargs, because if you look on the minimap, Johnny slightly hovering over here towards right. If somebody had chosen a poor spot to back, something like that, could have been in some trouble. Kana could have been in some trouble if Johnny
Yeah.
had stuck around there towards mid.
That's
but
what we're watching. It really is just a matter of time until Johnny finds somebody, you know, when they're
Feels
not
that way.
expecting it as well. If Mercury's expecting it, again, he has that puncher's chance, and I guess Mercury and Cleaner both have that beat and Aegis, so they have those get out of jail free cards, I suppose you could say.
Scorching Flame added for Johnny. So you got the full time of the enhanced Fire Giant. Already opened up a Phoenix over on right. You'd love to at least grab one here, but as you mentioned earlier, still plenty of towers left on the map for the Nifleheim Wargs to look towards.
At least one less tower to go through.
Yeah,
on the side.
one less tower you
One
got
and
to
a
deal
half,
with
yeah.
on this Fire Giant. You're right, and then the Trebuchet opens up 1.5 towers over towards the left. That's going to be a little frustrating for Deathwalker. You do, and this is no fault of Deathwalkers, but you sit around and farm the entire game. You finally find the
huge
massive
ultimate.
initiation, and then Preds just kind of completely mitigates it all in one moment.
Yeah, you have to give credit to Preds. That was a huge ultimate, and you know that's part of the pick. That's why Yemoja is so valuable. You can cut off a team like that.
Right.
And we just saw, you know, Johnny wasn't able to get in whatsoever. After the fight, you know, after the Fire Giant even, he still has his bead, still has his blink, and still has his ultimate.
Yep,
Wasn't able
pretty
to be a
much.
part of it at all.
Looks like a 5-man grouping from the Nifleheim Wargs over towards left. A little chunk damage out from Angry. You got to watch out for that. This Thotha's definitely hit those power spikes and can weave in some damage in the right areas and make life difficult for the initiators of Hex Mambo. Johnny having to play safe around the hieroglyphic assault from Angry. A little bit of damage finds its way onto the left side Phoenix. That means Deathwalker wants to go in. Gets a fear and a send back, but how about Tusky? And how about the lockdown from Pred? Zeros through the Aegis will live. There's a shell on the other end as well, but Sarpei, he's ulted in, and he's ulted into a crit from E-Chrome and damage from Trix Tank. And suddenly, the Fire Giant siege is repelled, and Hex Mambo keep their Phoenix alive.
Completely nullified. Again, we go back to step one. That Phoenix is 1 health, but it does not matter. Unless we've got another Trebuchet coming down that lane,
We don't.
that Phoenix will be living for quite a while.
It
and we're
will.
going to go back to another Fire Giant dance with 9 kills in 35 minutes. Again, like, we're just waiting for these two teams to press their go button. And this game, even though it's gone on this long, once that Fire Giant is spawned and those two teams are actually fighting, it could be over within a minute.
That's right. But this time, you're not going to have a Fury pulling some eyes towards the left. You're not going to have that Trebuchet pulling eyes towards the left. You're just going to have a straight-up Fire Giant dance where the teams are going to have to decide where that entrance avenue is for the Hex Mambo. For Hex Mambo, I don't know if you can put a "the" in front of that team name. Deathwalker has been the initiator. It's been either blink or dash in, and then look for the ultimate to whirl around. Haven't seen Trix Tank find the big impactful plucks just yet, though Trix Tank has had a good game at 2-0-2, impacting 100% of the 4 kills that Hex Mambo have had. Obviously, that 1-2 punch going to be very important. But Sarpei there, I look towards the left side Phoenix Siege. Sarpei, Sonic booms
A little
in,
greedy,
just
I
eats a
would say.
crit on the jaw, and effectively ends that fight. But Wargs now doing some dewarding. If the Fire Giant was there immediately, I would have been a little bit more concerned. But the Wargs, with a little bit more aggressive in their positioning here, are going to be able to clear out some of the ward coverage that Hex Mambo has.
Deathwalker's up to the point where he can get these 4-man ultimates and he probably shouldn't die. He's got
Yep, the mask.
has that 1, 2, 3, 4 damage mitigation items, you know, so he should be able to live. If he can get those stacks with that Stone of File, he's going to take almost no damage in his ultimate. So
Yep.
he can get that utility off and hopefully his team can follow up this time. But it all depends where Preds is. If he can nullify that aggression and wall off the enemy team so his team stays safe, then, you know,
Good point.
again, Nifleheim Wargs are going to be in a good spot for these team fights.
Initiate, pull eyes over, allow the back line to step forward and operate. That's what Deathwalker is looking to do here. Pyromancer confirmed by Hex Mambo. Trix Tank stunned, and my goodness, the pluck used offensively. Final Judgment won't connect onto the Sobek, but Trix Tank's got to leave, and there are 5 seconds on this Fire Giant buff. Sarpei wants to fight. A Sonic Boom puts him in harm's way, but does give the Wargs an opening to rally inside the Hex Mambo side of the jungle. Johnny on the other side of the Fire Giant pit, though, considering a jump in, with the Nifleheim Wargs instead of eyes for the FG.
Yeah, but Johnny's still close enough.
Johnny will not steal it away. And Johnny now in a bad spot, has to ult. Defensively, what happens? Zero snags a kill on Nakana, and so you get Enhanced Fire Giant, but you've lost your solo.
I mean, that's fine. He's a long death timer, but that is the price to pay for an Enhanced Fire Giant. We'll see if Mambo want to take the fight 4v5, maybe, 5v4, maybe 5.5v4, considering they have a Trebuchet in that left lane as well. Maybe they get some value out of that. See if they're confident enough to fight a team that has Enhanced Fire Giant, but they're upper man.
Well, 40 minutes into this game nearly. 40-second death timer on Kana. Enhanced Fire Giant, nothing to scoff at, but a one-man advantage. You're not going to get that for this amount of time, this often. Hex Mambo clear out some wards on the right side of the jungle, rally around the back side of the speed buff.
And speed buff's not up, so I don't think Sarpei will be coming this direction anytime soon. And realistically, Nifleheim Wargs are just calling, just wait 20 more seconds, Connor's up, and then we'll push this lane down together.
Like, where are they? They're clear. The Mambo are clearly not clearing the wave on right.
Yeah.
Their waves pushing down mid. They're
yeah.
somewhere on the right side of the jungle, you'd assume.
I'm surprised they didn't go, hang out near that Trebuchet, because at some point Wargs needed to clear that Trebuchet, or they were going to lose a tier 2, which is not a big deal, but like I said, they're probably not coming to that speed buff when it's not up anytime soon.
And now how impactful is that death row? I mean, of course you want Enhanced Fire Giant on Kana, but for the next 2.5 minutes, you've got Enhanced Fire Giant on everyone else.
Yeah, I mean,
Nifleheim Wargs can really just now make use of this Enhanced Fire Giant. They were able to go back, spend up some of that gold, maybe get a shot at a Phoenix again.
This is a second chance, they, I guess, fumbled their first chance. Sarpei had a pretty deep ultimate on that left Phoenix and was punished for it pretty quickly by Echrome. And giving credit to Echrome, he's been quick. As soon as that jungler's in, or as soon as Connor's in as well, he's looking to turn on them and crit them as much as he can so he can get them out of the fight. That's his job in these team fights, just basically play with his backline, with Zeros. And we saw at the Fire Giant, Zeros throwing spells over the walls. So same kind of thing I think we'll see at this Phoenix. Just try to keep everybody off the backline, and these 2 carries will make a difference.
You know what? I got the aggressive mentality, so I'm a fan of Sarpei just throwing that ult like way down Main Street and just see what happens. I'm a fan of it. Has worked out maybe once, has also not worked out maybe once, but I admire at least giving it a go. A Final Judgment flies from Angry. Doesn't find much. An ultimate out from Deathwalker. Doesn't find much. A little bit of damage, though, taken away from the left side tier 2. A good pull in onto Preds. And a Riptide out and away.
And now we've got another delay because he is so poked out, but we've got a great pluck in mid from Trix Tank.
Sarpei uses Aegis, not enough. Sarpei down. Johnny wins the 2 versus 2. Maybe we take a bit of a breather here. You think we got about 2 minutes and 15 seconds till that next Fire Giant is back up?
Start thinking about the next Fire Giant. Maybe we add like a second version of Enhanced. Like maybe we at 50 minutes we go up to a double Enhanced Fire Giant.
Extra Enhanced Fire Giant.
But
all right.
Make it easier to kill so a team gets it faster.
Mifflin and I got to 52 minutes yesterday.
I don't want to beat that. You guys can have that record. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll take it. I will happily hold the crown of longest game this weekend with Mifflin. Don't you worry, Ro. But it does show you later on in the game, with how long these death timers are, even still with 3 members with Enhanced Fire Giant on them, and that left side Phoenix being as low as it is, like full team reset for a full 2 minutes of Enhanced Fire Giant when you lose your jungler because of how impactful these games are. Though Trix Tank wants to speed things up, finds a pluck, but it ends up being walked away as a beads get used.
Trix Tank still recognizing this is a 5v4. I am still a Sobek with Blink. I can look for something. I can maybe find a pick. He gets a beads, and that will help. If we can, this Fire Giant's up sooner or later, and maybe he can get a Blink pluck. He's still got his Blink, actually, so didn't even need to use his Blink to get that pluck and force those beads from Angry. So now Angry has to sit even further back. And if he doesn't, Trix Tank can find that Blink, get that pluck, and he'd probably get one shot by Johnny.
Well, we were even at 12 minutes, and we're even at 41 minutes. Ignore the gold on top of your screen, but that is also very close to being even anyway. A couple thousand gold. 42 minutes into the game doesn't mean much. Everyone full build here except for Trixtank, who's still catching up a bit. Everyone's got their starters upgraded, all the relics getting
Spudio's
close.
got full stacks,
Except
so
for
he's got a ton
the
of
carries.
gold in his
Yeah,
pocket as well.
no, Spudio's doing just fine. Elixir of Power picked up. Starting to talk about 3K
There's the
pots,
gold.
things like that, going into this next fight. Enhanced Fire Giant close to respawning, and we thought the last ones would end the game. This one very well could end the game as well, though if Hex Mambo are able to secure it, still a couple towers to deal with, depending on how many either team loses.
They might lose this
Could
left
see another
tower,
stalemate.
so that'll help a little bit, if they want to siege that lane, if they do get a Fire Giant. And, Wargs did switch it up a little bit on that siege. They went 3 left, 2 mid, but this one strategy didn't work either. I think they just have to go 5 down 1 lane and just kind of hit their abilities better, or take it slower, Then slowly make space for your Hunter to break down this Phoenix. Don't go all in with the Hail Mary Thothol or the Hail Mary Mercury ult.
Alrighty, Enhanced Fire Giant being worked on by Hex Mambo. E-Chrome and Deathwalker able to do plenty. Watch out for a final judgment from Angry. Watch out for Johnny over on the right side of the EFG pit. It's the initiation from the Loki. Can really flip things around here. I've seen that a couple of times throughout this game. Early on, Johnny had a kill in the first minute of this game and has added 1 in the next 42 minutes of the game. Nobody else in this game has done that much in this amount of time either. Hex Mambo playing it slow though, Ro. They start up the EFG. You're maybe just hoping that someone from the Wargs overextends.
They were trying to bait them in, see if Angry gets close with no beads. Those beads are now up, so it's a complete wash. It's a complete even game. Remember that one game mode, that one arena where at the end of it, it was just a full 5v5 in the middle?
Right,
That's
Corrupted
what
Arena.
this is, yeah, except there's a big Fire Giant monster in the middle.
We're in Corrupted Conquest. I don't know, my brain corrupted after a 43-minute 11-kill game here between Hex Mambo and the Nifleheim Wargs. And we will see this a few more times. The Fire Giant gets low to bait in the Wargs. Then Hex Mambo feel like they've got a chance, though this time the Fire Giant stuck on a little bit longer. Preds knocked up into the side by E-Chrome and actually takes a smattering of damage from E-Chrome. One more crit would have gotten it done, but Preds able to walk away. Now this Yamoja needs to sustain up. Trixtank can't lose that much HP to maintain the advantage. Enhanced Fire Giant low, and it is secured by Hex Mambo. Sarpei dashes in, but then dashes out, and a River's Rebuke is the abort button. It is a clean secure for Hex Mambo and a clean disengage for the Wargs.
It is round 3 siege time. Maybe we just go to the right Phoenix, switch it up a little bit.
It was
Maybe
the first time Mambo gets to try, right? That
you're
changes
right.
it.
You're right. That does change it. And no tower on the left Phoenix, so they can push it up there and see if they can have a go at their siege. I don't think Loki's siege is too great. His 1v1, however, is amazing. We saw him do it against Oath. Maybe he goes into that mid lane, looks for the 1v1 on that Phoenix. Someone's going to have to defend against him. Most likely, probably Connor will defend against. He can safely clear those waves, whereas a Mercury can't, and a Mercury can just kind of sit in that left lane and look for the ultimates in the main team fight. So already we've got Connor sitting mid. Well, the rest of his team's following him now, but I imagine he'll be the one staying in mid lane. Johnny will go and deal with him to the best of his ability. He will win that 1v1, but I doubt he'll be diving anytime soon, especially into a Beads Aegis out of Connor.
Here's what I'm predicting, Ro. I'm predicting an individual pick. The Wargs get 1 kill. And it's on to like Johnny, Zeros, or E-Chrome.
And it's on to Fire Giant 4.
And it's on to Fire Giant number 4 a few minutes later. We are 45 minutes in. That would mean we would break Mifflin and I's record from last night, the 52 or so minute game. So if Hex Mambo have their way with this one, they will end the game just shy of 50 minutes. But still some to work through. You got a tier 2 on right, a couple exposed Phoenixes here in mid.
This is what I want to see. I want to see Trixtank make some space for his Hunter so that he can just slowly poke down that Phoenix. At the same time, E-Chrome has to be a little careful of that Mercury ultimate and that Thoth ultimate while he's poking that Phoenix. But Trixtank can take poke in order to make space because he will get healed up from his starter relic, some starter item. Every time a wave is cleared, he'll basically be back up to full health.
Yep.
But instead, they're going 2 mid, 3 left, which is fine, I guess. Connor won't be able to deal with 2 of them while he can still definitely deal with just Loki.
Yeah, difficult to deal with Deathwalker, though, as sustained up through any of the damage the Phoenix has done. Remember, the Phoenixes hurt nowadays. 3 head towards mid. E-Chrome takes some damage from Sarpei, but Sarpei also has some damage returned. Little bit of damage taken on mid and left side Phoenix, waiting for the waves to roll through, but the Wargs have been able to clear them out just fine. Certainly an awkward spot for Sarpei. You love to kind of sneaky gank with these sonic booms. In moments like this, you kind of just have to answer what Hex Mambo are giving you. E-Chrome now poked out again by Angry. A Riptide locks Zeros into place. He's got to use beads and flicker. But Zeros will be able to walk away. Another carry getting chunked down by the Wargs. It is a Riptide up, a River's Rebuke down, and a Sonic Boom through. Sarpei back behind Zeros and E-Chrome. Deathwalker in mid, over on right is Johnny. The Nifleheim Wargs trying to find an answer to the push we are getting as Johnny will solo push down the right side Phoenix.
Something happened. He made this pick useful. He can 1v1 pretty much anything on the map right now, and that includes a Phoenix. Maybe not Enhanced Fire Giant, but they don't need it when they've already got it. Now they can move in to this left lane, this mid lane. They've still got, 50 seconds on this Fire Giant, so it won't be available when those right fire minions make it, but they'll still be able to pressure without them.
The good news for the Wargs is if they don't lose any more Phoenixes, they can deal with the fire minions while defending the Enhanced Fire Giant. Hex Mambo, though, would love to knock down the left side Phoenix, but with 30 seconds remaining on the Enhanced Fire Giant, you've got every ultimate except for Trix Tanks if you're Hex Mambo. Deathwalker walks in towards Kana. Still waiting on Preds' ultimate to come back up. That's been so important. The River's Rebuke and Sarpei without that Sonic Boom. Waves have been cleared out just fine, Hero, so it's been hard for Hex Mambo outside of a split push to find an initiation. And it looks like we go to FG number 4.
Yeah, and that Phoenix will not have much of an impact on FG number 4 either, because it is on it's right beside it, So
I gotta walk out a little bit and deal with it. Come on.
This Primal Fury will help with a little bit of that DPS, but really we're not seeing teams pull it in front of each other, apart from baiting each other in a little bit. They're pulling the Fire Giant and actually killing it after they've won the team fight. So, I mean, again, I think it's a wash. I do think they could have stuck around there, but no team's really willing to risk it right now. They're on elimination. They don't want to lose here. Right. They don't want to risk too much. I mean, it's a best of 3 game 1.
It's also only game 1.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. They could have risked it.
No, but you want to be in control of the best of 1.
It's
you
true.
want to be the one.
You want the momentum going.
With the momentum, you want to be able to win 1 out of the next 2. You play a little bit more free that way, maybe. So absolutely, especially in an elimination best of 3. Every single game matters, setting the stage, very important. In the Fire Giant dance last time, remember, really, it felt like it came down to Preds just kind of getting chunked out, but how about Kana getting chunked out? You've chosen a wrong avenue in, but it looks like Kana will be able to back away.
That was a small example of what happens when Johnny does find someone sleeping in the jungle, right? That's his jungle. He's the biggest god on the game right now, by far. And honestly, he could go over this left lane and solo a Phoenix, but I don't feel like they are feeling like they need to because they won the last team fight and got the last objective. So Johnny's just going to play a regular team fight the same way they've been doing it and try to get the Fire Giant just how they did last time.
Fire Giant worked down. Wargs close by. Final Judgment can make the difference. Angry steps forward, but Fire Giant gets dropped. Riptide back. Sonic Boom through 2. Beads off of E-Chrome. Sarpei has to dash away towards the left. Husky doing some work. Stuns down Deathwalker. Watch out for Johnny around the back. Big initiation from Deathwalker. But nobody's there, and the River's Rebuke is up on the other side of it. Nifleheim Wargs back away. Johnny over to their right. And Hex Mambo maintains everyone as do the Wargs.
Yeah, missing a couple relics, and that was a really high value Mercury ultimate. But
Johnny
honestly,
still got ult.
He does, but I can't imagine he's going to be the one initiating when Trix Tank is half health as well, so he's a little scared himself.
Whoa, Wargs. Sarpei is back at base. Fire Giant down to half HP. We have crested the 50-minute mark here in game number 1. Crits ring out on the Enhanced Fire Giant. Can the Wargs just pick it up now? No, Trix Tank has to dash away. Fire Giant still low. Deathwalker maintains the aggro. Kana is gone. Preds is gone. Sarpei running away from Johnny. Deathwalker still slightly low as well. Hex Mambo find a couple of picks. And the Enhanced Fire Giant to boot.
And please stick around. It's not time to back. You've got 5v3 scenario for 70 seconds. That's right. And a Phoenix already down. I imagine they might walk to it and hit it as soon as it comes back up. Maybe they get the mid Phoenix first. But honestly, they might be able to end while they're 5v3.
Wow, Preds and Kana just got chunked down there. And I thought it was a brilliant initiation. Sarpei goes for Johnny and comes up empty-handed. And now the task of Angry and Spudio much more difficult. 40 seconds on Preds, 40 seconds on Kana. Angry dashed at by Deathwalker. Angry worked down, ulted by Johnny. Angry through the Aegis will die. Johnny ends this game on a rampage. Spudio, the last line of defense, no good. And 52 minutes will not be reached, but 51.5 will.
Look, I was making some boxing comparisons before with that Mercury and having a puncher's chance, and that was him getting into that last round. He knew he was losing. His coach just told him, go out and slam
points,
it.
right?
You need to win this fight right now, this round.
Wow.
He gave it a shot and got knocked out himself.
Well, we did joke. I think minute 1 in this game we joked about whether or not the two EUs would form one really long game, and 51 and a half minutes, game number 1. That's what we get. And Hex Mambo end up taking game number 1. I wonder, as like a player mentality-wise, you go through a 51-minute game, you have your chances to win it, and then you lose. That's got to be extra difficult.
It is, but hey, it's been a long day yesterday. It's probably going to be a long day.
Guys,
It's going to be a long day
52
today.
minutes.
That's right. You know what? They're used to it at this point. Now this is their territory. It's time for them to make a whole run from now until midnight.
Yeah, the Wargs, the 52-minuters from yesterday go 51 and a half here in game 1, but Hex Mambo new to the 51.5-minute club, able to take game number 1. We will take a break. Game number 2 coming up next.
Check in with our European representatives who have come off of a 13, 14-hour day, come back in, fall down, have to play in a couple more best of threes. Best case scenario, they've got 2 more best of threes to play through. Let's check in and see whether or not these guys have got their heads on their shoulders. Let's start here. How you feeling, bud? First off, name. Secondly, when did you start playing? And third, who's your favorite caster?
Spudio. I started playing in 2014. And my favorite caster is... I don't know, to be honest.
Well, if you had to guess, you know, like let's say hypothetically somebody like had a mic in your face and was like forcing you to answer, who would you say?
Blazybud.
Okay, all right. Well, no accounting for taste, I suppose. Boys, let's open the question to the room. I suppose this portion of the room, because I'm not going any deeper in here. Are you worried at all about having another potential 14-hour day?
I think we should make it longer.
Sorry, what was
I
that?
think we can go longer.
You want to go longer? Okay, so walk me through that. What part of incredibly long Smite sessions appeals to you?
It's just a game and it's fun. Just playing some Smite.
Shall we ask Angry? Angry, what time is it where you are right now, bud?
It's 10:30 actually.
Oh, that's not so bad. How much sleep did you get last night?
I think about 5 hours.
That's not enough sleep. I'm thinking maybe aim for 8 next time, but I suppose that's not your fault. Let's come on this way. Who is the weakest link of the team? I'm talking to the coach now.
Well, me.
You're the weakest link.
Yeah, I'm diabolical at the game. You never see me play. I'm the weakest player by a mile.
Okay. Who's the dumbest player?
Oh, look at that big guy sitting over there, man.
You're telling me the guy who loves 15-hour Smite days is simultaneously the dumbest?
They just don't understand my creativeness. It's fun.
You know, some people left brained, some people right brains, some people no brains, I suppose. Tell me, bud, if you had one word to say to Ariana Grande right now, what would it be?
Love.
There you have it. Ariana, if you're watching right now, you've got a massive fan. Please swing by the studio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a grueling 52-minute game, not set, the Hex Mambo come out with a 1-point advantage over the Wargs. Heading into game 2, Trelly, there's a lot of stuff that they got to figure out. But first up, ladies and gents, why not go and relive the original SMITE map in all of its glory? Introducing SMITE Night, where every Saturday you can go ahead and play some of your favorite OG Conquest games and even get your name on a leaderboard if you win enough games.
Look at Atlas holding up the TV there. This is such good artwork.
He's so grumpy about it. Surely that's got to weigh less than the whole universe, right?
Well, he wants to slam the SMITE queues too, but he's got to sit there holding. They could put the TV down.
No one wants to play a game against Atlas. He's just going to start grabbing people and not letting them play.
That's a fair point.
He did this to himself. He's allowed to be grumpy. Although I do like that even Charybdis Moore is getting in on it. She's got a little what is it? The party like zoot thing.
The zoot, yeah, I suppose so.
The party suit.
I don't know what that thing's called.
Charlie, heading into game number 2, obviously there was a lot of stuff for both of these teams. I think we were both a little bit chagrined about the lack of confidence on the Wargs to just go and try and do some of these objectives.
Yeah, so we were both in the break room, and we were watching intently. And I said, okay, so this is the first Enhanced Fire Giant, and they didn't really get much off it. And this is the Wargs, of course. The Wargs went for the second Enhanced Fire Giant, and they didn't really get much off it. And I was like, this takes away backdoor protection. You could essentially just solo the Phoenix, and then Hex Mambo gets the Enhanced Fire Giant, and Johnny just literally walks up and solos the Phoenix. And I'm like, so they do know. They are aware. It's just Hex Mambo was the first to do it. And then after the fact, that third Enhanced Fire Giant, the one you're looking at right now, was all it took for Hex Mambo to claim their victory. They just played a little bit better. The Wargs were not able to break the base every time they went for a 5v5 lineup. One member would get picked, and then they'd run all the way back and say, hey, we'll wait. And that was just too much.
Absolutely. We're following along with some of Johnny's plays here in that last encounter. That kind of game-ending series of events is going to take out Angry and kind of push that in. Trelly, are we looking at Johnny coming into this second game as this driving force for Hex Mambo again?
I mean, the Wargs, by all means, should have been able to force their Enhanced Fire Giant a little bit more. I think that they really dropped the ball on that one. Let this game go a little bit too far, and then Hex Mambo were just a little bit too sought on the 5v5 team fights toward the later stage of the game. So definitely not out. I think if the Wargs played a little bit differently, then Johnny wouldn't have been able to pop off so late as he did. I mean, you can look at the damage. It was pretty much all in the Wargs' favor. They just weren't able to get those kills. They weren't able to get those objectives, being the Phoenixes. They got the Fire Giant a few times and was not able to do too much for it. So definitely a loss that's going to hurt, but not something to write home about. You don't have to, I would say short memory on this one. Don't really think too much about what you did. Just try to make those corrections and, pick on the gas a little bit earlier.
Well, something else, I'll field this question to you, Trelly. The Mambos, we've seen them time and time again, really the main team that we've seen this week really dragging out those games. We know that they love playing those late game engagements. They know how to be in those situations. They know how best to play them. What is, I guess, the strategy that Wargs need to take to stop them from getting to that point, meet them before they get to that late game?
I mean, it seemed like they had the lead going into the Fire Giant dance, and then once the Enhanced Fire Giant went down, they just didn't play that well with it. I truthfully think just splitting up their push there, instead of going for the 5v5, we're going to meet you at left, Phoenix, and throw everything at you, you throw everything at us, and see what sticks. Just spread out a little bit, maybe do a 2-1 push, a 3-2 push, just literally send your jungler out. I mean, it's Johnny obviously was able to 1v1, and Sarpei was hitting some nice crits, but if you could just send Sarpei over to right lane, then ult back over with the Mercury, there were so many things that could have been done that unfortunately just weren't. Just great defense by the Hex Mambo, but I still think the Wargs had so much potential to be able to break that base and just couldn't execute.
Yeah, that Mercury, maybe not the most comfortable pickup for Sarpei. Looked like he was, making a couple judgment errors with that length. We saw that play in the mid lane, kind of towards that middle part of the game where he zooms past the rest of the team and doesn't really get much value for it.
We saw the Sonic Boom go through.
Yeah.
He turned around and there was just no beads. He's like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I'm just
just
completely dipped out.
Going into Pixelman's game number 2, looks like similar things to start off with. This time around, though, Mambo don't want to deal with the Jing Wei. They don't want to give it to Wargs here in that first pick situation. Wargs, equally, they don't want to see Johnny back on the Loki. They figured out why it wasn't allowed in the SPL last year, and they're going to echo that sentiment.
This time, though, they will just pick the Tiamat here. I think that would help as well, trying to slit up the Mambo in the later stage of the game. Use those lizards. Someone's going to have to stop because the waves are going to get too far pushed up. So already it looks like getting angry on something very safe, but also just able to split up the members of Mambo more so whenever you're trying to siege.
And potentially Mambo looking for something a little bit more comfortable here on those next 2 picks. I would imagine probably looking towards that dual lane. There are a lot of strong options available to them. We've got things like the Chernobog Open, the Heimdall, definitely a pick that Ekrom enjoys going towards.
Yeah, we've seen the Heimdall, as you mentioned, the Rama, still something notable, and there's just so many options here. Obviously, the Artemis had some success, but it's just, it's so difficult for me because I think the Caledonian Boar, Tusky, is one of the best teamfight ultimates in the game. It's just so easy to overwhelm Artemis and say, hey, you're not going to be able to hard carry here. We're just going to put too many bodies in front of you, and you can only auto one person at a time, that sort of thing. Merlin is going to be the choice here. So already both mid laners very prioritized in the Tiamat Merlin. This feels a little bit like Season 8 type deal where Tiamat and Merlin were just running everything in the early stages of Season 9 as well. And the Rama will be picked up as well.
That does leave still the 2 that I just highlighted, Heimdall and Chernobog, still available for the Wargs. There are other notable ADC picks that they could lean towards as well to round out this top 3. Charlie, where do you think the priority should be here for the Wargs?
I mean, trying to get Sarpei on something. The Mercury was great, and to be fair, it was hit or miss, but when it was hitting, it was good. They got the early lead, but I think just maybe something a little bit easier to execute. Something, obviously this is more of a Johnny pick, but like Hoonbats, for example, where it's just plug and play. You want to hit big ult, big CC, and you can sort of find success off that Sonic Boom. It's very difficult to land in a late game team fight. You don't want to ult into the back of the Phoenix. You want to sort of set up and wait for the beats to be down, that sort of thing. So something a little bit easier maybe. Obviously Sarpei is a very talented jungler, but just something that's easier to set up for because I really think the Wargs did 90% of things right. It was just that last 10% that really affected how their late game went.
They just let, I think, Mambo get in their heads a little bit too much. They win, or not even necessarily win. They put up a decent defense, and Wargs go, oh, okay, we should probably take a step back. Let's make sure that we're ready to go into this next engagement rather than just pushing until Mambo can't defend anymore. Wargs, though, taking their time. They really want to make sure to nail this next part of the draft, and it will be the dual lane locked in. It's going to be a Khepri and Heimdall facing up against that Rama. And potentially following up with that Johnny, going back to this home butts.
Yeah, one of the things that really disrupts Khepri is not being able to get that Scarab's Blessing off when you want. Fear no evil. Going to be a great tool to do that if Khepri is CC'd, can't ult, and then at that point you're not saving anyone. If Khepri goes down without ulting, you're not getting that value. So I think it's going to be a smart grab here. I like how Hoonbats went from something that was we never see or we just called the ult bot to 100% win rate for Johnny. He's been having a lot of success on this pick because he can control when he wants to fight, and when he does want to fight is when that ultimate's available.
And I feel like this is a pick we see come out in a lot of LAN situations, A lot of people go in, they're like, yeah, all these assassins are really, really good at the moment, and then someone goes, hey, you know what's really good? Giant circle where you don't get to do anything. The Humbats comes out, everyone realizes, oh yeah, we haven't played against Humbats in like a year. How do we do this? And that's definitely something that Johnny seems to be taking advantage of here. Mambo looking, though, to stop the Wargs from picking up anything that's really going to play into this home butts. The Kali off the board, the Daji off the board. Meanwhile, Wargs, they don't want to play against that Sobek again.
Yeah, trying to ban away beads burners, I think is going to be a smart option here. With the Hoonbats already on the table, anyone that's going to get your beads for free, like a Sobek with a Pluck, for example, not going to be too fun to deal with. And Trix Tank, he's already been limited a bit in the Kumba being gone, and that's another beads burner that was smart to be taken away. So I think those are going to be some good bans already. They have a little bit more time to think about this one. Trix still has his pick available, and Yamoja is also going to be ripped away from him. So we have to dive pretty deep into the God Pool, which we've seen him do time and time again. Terra will be the hover here, and we talked a bit about Terra could go into the solo lane, but there's just no way. Deathwalker seems to have been loving these mages as of recently, and he had some success on the Hades, and Hades Hoonbats, both get beads, and it sounds like a good combo to me.
And also, you know, I think of Trickstank, Terra immediately maybe on the top 3 gods that comes to mind in association. This is a character that he loves to pull out all the time. It is in his style, again, to quote you back to yourself, it's a very annoying pick to come up against. Very good at just forcing you into bad situations, places you don't want to be in. And again, just like the Humbats, that giant root field, definitely not something that is going to be preferable for Wargs to stand in. Really good space control. But talking about that solo lane, Charlie, I think we were talking a little bit about the potential of seeing a Cerberus here in that similar role to the Hades.
Well, yeah, I was just talking about the fact that I think Cerberus is a little bit slept on right now, given what we have seen in the solo lane. These solo laners are prioritizing sustain, and who shuts down sustain? Well, Cerberus. He steals your healing from you and gives it to himself, something that works quite well. But looks like we're not going to be able to see that. What we will see, however, is the Bakasura and the Bastet. Bastet solo, more often than not. I can't imagine we're seeing the Golden Blade Baka solo meta. This is probably more so just the run to farm as quickly as possible, eat every buff that I can, and hyper farm for late game. Gonna have a decent matchup in the Hunbats, but if you don't have Regurgitate open, you better have a beads available, because that 1v1's not fun.
But we've seen the devastation that this Bakasura can lead to, right? Especially to some of these more immobile targets, and I'm looking at the Merlin in particular. This that flicker is going to take, what, 23 seconds to come off cooldown, especially in that early game. Definitely keep an eye on that mid lane for some fireworks. The Hades is going to get locked back in here for the Deathwalker. The Deathwalker.
The Deathwalker. There's only one.
I mean, he's playing Hades, and what does Hades do? He walks, and he's death. He's literally the Deathwalker.
I don't think he actually walks. He floats.
Well, it's an approximation of walking.
Death hoverer. Either way.
Death hover.
Yeah, either way, we knew this comp was coming, or at least any of you, if you've been watching, if you watched last night, you knew this comp was coming. Once the Hunbats comes in, the Hades is not too far away. It wasn't banned away. It is a little bit better of a beads burner than the Sobek or the Yemoja, because you just simply walk up, say, hey, I have a lot of mitigations in the Pillar of Agony. No one is going to be able to kill me, and I'm just going to force either your leap or your beads. Give it to me now, and then Johnny can come in soon after, and the team fight gets a lot easier.
It's literally a case of if you don't use your beads for Deathwalker, you die. If you use your beads for Deathwalker, Johnny will come and kill you later. So it's lose-lose situation. The Wargs don't really have too many CCI ultimates on their team. Bakasura gets a small window. Tiamat doesn't really. She has that small moment in the ground form where she gets that CCI, but there's a lot of opportunity here for those two characters to really cause some devastation. Now, Trelly, I worded it really poorly last time around, so I'm going to ask you again, out of the draft here, who do you think has won in picks and bans?
I appreciate you not trying to make me clairvoyant and
Thank
just to
you.
understand
Yeah.
who's going to pick beforehand.
Although
but-
you said Wargs and you were wrong last time.
Well, because you gave me 30 seconds to decide. Either way, Mambo's draft here I think is super annoying to deal with. I think they've drafted a comp that actually penalizes you from grouping up. If you're together and giving big value for these large circles that they have, it's going to get your beats for free or your escape. So I think Hex Mambo have found a comp that is super annoying to deal with and that not many people have found answers to yet. If I'm going draft alone, I got to give the edge to Mambo this time.
We'll have to see if that's going to pay off for them. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited to see how these two teams are going to play themselves out. Obviously, this is going to be the final attempt for the Wargs. If they can't find this game, they are going to be getting sent home. So it's all to play for. As I used the expression before, all the muffins.
Yeah, I mean, if you want any muffins, you better win this game, because if not, someone's going to take your muffin. There's a muffin bandit. He's out there, and he'll make sure to take them away.
He's going to steal them.
Yeah, I mean, the Wargs looked good last game, though, man. They have it in them. They were not able to close it out.
Let's see if they're going to be able to do it this time around. David and Rowe with the game.
You just call me David?
Wow.
My mother calls me David, and that's it. That's the only one. And it's only when she's mad at me. Everyone else in my life ever calls me Blazy's mad at me about something. A 52-minute game, he takes it out on me. Unbelievable. Nifleheim Wargs and Hex Mambo head into game number 2 of what could be 3. Though if Hex Mambo able to capitalize hero, they will send the Wargs home and send themselves on to our 3rd and final best of 3 of the day. Differences in team comps here, though. Sarpei notably off of the Mercury onto the Bakasura. Johnny notably off that Loki onto the Hunbats.
Yeah, look, I think Trelly said it really, really well. When they are grouping up around this Fire Giant, which we seem, it is inevitable. We're going to get to that point at this, you know, at
What do you
this
want to
rate,
talk
the way
about
this-
for 30 minutes?
Well, I mean, look, you can't be David because then that would make me Goliath, right?
And
I'm
you are
not-
Goliath. You are a Goliath.
We
of
saw
a,
the memes
you
on
are,
Twitter
you are a
yesterday.
Goliath of a man, and I am but a. Well, would we determine? I don't have Miff here to. Denton is the name of the little
yes,
Colossus
yes,
minion.
my
I'm
old
I'm
friend.
but a Denton to your Goliath.
Oh, that's how my brain is feeling right
No,
now. I'm like a Denton.
We will give the early game its due credit here. My name's David. Yeah, I mean it does work out that way, and I moved away from the bit. My fault, production. Sarpei on the Bakasura, Johnny on the Hunbats. I distract you from your eventual point there. Do you feel like the flow of the jungle, flow of the game, really changes from how things looked in game one?
It does. I think the early game won't change too much. Like, I think Johnny will be just farming and trying to get that level 20 or trying to get to that team fight stage. But once we get there, I think Johnny can punish them much more in these team fights than he could on a Loki, you know. On a Loki, he's just constantly looking for these 1v1s, which was not easy up against a Beads Aegis solo laner and a Beads Aegis jungler in the Mercury and the Cleaner of last game. This game, however, he can find these Blink ultimates and force multiple of those relics at a time, and that way Trixtank can then look for the engage, and Deathwalker can then look for the engage. Now, you know, if this was a scenario of last game where Deathwalker found that big 4-man ultimate and got a huge amount of value out of it, great, all of those relics are down. Now Johnny can go and do the same thing and actually get the kills. So it seems like now their comps are much more synergized right now. Last game they just kind of matched up in terms of when they were strongest in the game, but they didn't match up in what they wanted to do in the game. This game, I think we just pile big circles on big circles, force these relics and repeat, and we're going to have a much easier time in the late game.
Sounds all right to me. Zero's taking some damage from Angry early in the laning phase here, and Johnny goes up and over, but Angry will do the same. Hex Mambo have really hit their stride. This is a team in the EU SEC throughout phase one. Really struggled to find consistency, but now on the verge of really making some waves here at SMITE Spring Masters. Dash out from Spudio, thanks to the Bifrost. Imagine we get similar things over in the duo lane. Heimdall would love to hit level 20 and rotate in with some of those big items. So would Echrome here on this ROM. Now a difference I think as well out of the support role here this game. Preds, I suppose, with an abduct similar to how Trixtank had on the Kepri last game. But Terra, such a unique style of support. Not only the root, of course, but some extra sustain, something that Umoja had for Preds in game number one. Earthen Fury, great team fighting ultimate. How important do you think Trixtank is to this composition?
Look, I think it's more of just a comfort pick for him. You know, he's been getting a lot of respect in this pick and ban phase. I think the Geb was banned away, but that was more towards Deathwalker. But the Sobek was banned away, and the what did he play last game? It wasn't Sobek.
It was Sobek.
Right, yeah. So ban those away so that he can't get them. The Umoja was another one. And again, you know, Trixtank just playing that type of god that is annoying, always in your face, just like this. Still has it.
Got it through the abduct.
Look, you know, may as well take the chance, right? It won't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but hey, Echrome up a level.
No,
or maybe
that's
half.
game over. Hear me out, Ro. All right, so one level lead for Echrome. He'll hit level 5 first. I'm talking
We've
Johnny
seen Rama
level
solo
5
kills.
gank over to Echrome, who will hit level 5 before Spudio. Though Johnny's going back to back. All right, so Johnny goes back immediately to the left side of the map. Echrome hits level 5, First Blood, and F6 by the Nifleheim Wargs in the next minute and a half.
That's competitive ruling. I heard somebody say that earlier. So.
Oh no! You were talking to Kabam and Vinny. You gotta get out of their ears. Though Johnny is hovering towards left, but whether or not that actually
Look, so far you're
results in
right.
anything,
So
who
we'll
knows?
see.
Yeah, right. I mean, up to this point, Echrome should hit level 5 first, and he does. God, David, just
All right, what's
so
next?
smart. All right, and then I said Johnny was going to be over there at this point. Unlucky that I'm just wrong in that regard.
That's Johnny's fault. You're doing fine.
I mean, it's a misplay, right? If you're not doing exactly what I think at any given time.
But hey, he's getting the pressure, you know. He's getting, you know, pushing out the waves with zeros
You're
in
right.
mid. They're able to secure that
You're
extra
right.
farm and get those
You're
oracles.
right.
Not that the vision on Gold Fury is going to matter too much right now, but a little bit of gold does help.
You're nice and diplomatic, Ro. You're right. Honestly, if anyone's doing what I'm thinking at any given time in any of these games, they're doing something horrendously wrong, and I promise you that. So, Hex Mambo not capitalizing on the half-level lead that Echrome and Trixtank have, but able to go back, finish up the Devourer's Gauntlet for Echrome, get that stacking up, and a nice start to this laning phase for Hex Mambo. So we've talked a little bit about what Hex Mambo want to do in those later game team fights around the Fire Giant. Spudio dashes in, doesn't hit much, and ends up having to back away. What do you think the Wargs want to do with this style of team composition?
Look, poke in the early game would help. I think it's up to Sarpe
Void
to be
circles.
Yeah.
Hope you took geometry.
I mean, you could take the fight towards Johnny before those circles come online too often, right? At the moment, no cooldown whatsoever. Still not going to have any cooldown until he gets that Transcendence stack. So Sarpe will win that 1v1 if he can find them. So that's an option. You can have the Kepri around as well, so you're pretty safe if you wanted to dive.
Yep.
Spudio as well, he wants to hit the gas pedal. We just saw him go for a blind ultimate on, I don't know who he was trying to hit, either Trickstank or Echrome, who unfortunately both have beads. So, that's kind of defensive relics. They just want to get to the late game again. Can't fault them for that. Their comp is still very,
They
very...
need to be afraid of circles in this game.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Do you think, did you ever watch any of those, what is it, TLC I think is the channel here, and it's like people with like super strange fears or addictions or anything like that?
No.
Do you think there's anyone on the planet who's genuinely just like afraid of circles, like the shape of circles?
I imagine so. There is that one phobia where you're afraid of those like circles that dip, like tryptophobia or something.
Tryptophobia, yeah.
Something like that.
That's actually somewhat common, I think. So
Oh,
maybe,
there you go.
I guess enough honestly,
Wargs,
the
if
Wargs
they
should
have
have
that-
tryptophobia, enough circles stacked on top of one another.
Yeah, and if they want to avoid seeing circles, well, they better hit the gas pedal and get things going so they can get, some fights happening, a gold lead before 30 minutes.
Now, they're behind by a hefty margin. A 1,000 gold lead for Hex Mambo has built up to this point, and that is beef. Jokes aside, it was like 2,000 at 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're already
Yeah.
twice the way that we were in game number 1. But Sarpe will resume farming up with that golden blade, stacking up on the Transcendences. Johnny, Charon's coin for both of these mid laners. And we do have something a little bit different to talk about here this game, though the analysis might not be that impactful. Spudio goes for Bloodforge instead of the Devourer's Gauntlet straight out of base.
Yeah, and we were looking at that gold lead, and I was trying to see where it was. There was a small XP difference as well, and it's mostly on that Hunter. They're both level 7 now, but, Echrome has had the pressure so far throughout this match, and Spudio's decided, you know what, I can't be bothered getting these stacks, and I can't be bothered getting these... I can't be bothered getting these kills. So if he gets these kills, get a big shield and continue in the team fight.
Spudio, not worried about the stacking, just has the gold for Bloodforge. Echrome able to go back about a 300 or so gold lead over in ADC, maybe 400 as I finish this sentence for Echrome. It's ridiculous, the things we're seeing over on left. I mean, it's like just under half of the gold lead for Hex Mambo, and when the gold lead is as small as it is, could result in something.
Look, they're not a team that often has the gold lead. I mean, maybe in the EU SEC, obviously, but this patch in this tournament, they haven't had the gold lead very often because they've just been trying to minimize their losses. On the other hand, in this game, they're just getting aggressive, forcing a beads out of Spudio straight away.
Yeah, not bad. Spudio has to take the beads and the Bifrost away. Echrome's been able to hold on to the beads over on the right side of the map just fine. I believe Balance Blade. Hit me with it, Doug. Tell me that's Balance Blade next to Devourer's Gauntlet. No, Light Blade, maybe?
Not Light Blade.
No, Balance Blade has got to be it. Next to Devos.
That is Light Blade, yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? My second... What is Balance Blade? That is totally something, right?
Sarpe has.
Okay, so yes. That's like the 10,000 fold blade.
I was really hoping Doug did something
You
like
were
that.
so
Yes,
close.
I was a coach for 4 years. Yes, I quit for a reason.
Here's the thing. We know what they build into, right? But like balanced light, who knows? Thanos is the one with the Balance Blade. That's right. Sarpe... Johnny, rather, is the one sending his ultimate towards Kana. So the first instance of a couple of ultimates get stacked on top of one another is a gank attempt over on Kana, and it looks like Hunters of Bast gets used there for the CC immunity, able to walk out of that initiation with the beads still in tow. Love to see it from Hex Mambo, though. Even with beads on all 5 members of the team, you have some initiation attempts, and this time just comes up short.
Yeah, I mean, Deathwalker even upgrading his beads, knowing that he is laning against this Bastet, who can throw out that ultimate fairly often when he gets the cooldown online. Already 10% plus the blue buff, enhanced blue buff actually, so 30%. And then maybe, I was going to say it was a Jotun's Wrath coming, but it probably should be a Brawler's because he's up against so much healing and sustain in Deathwalker's kit.
Now, I was just thinking too far ahead. Production has just let me know. Balance Blade is the next tier up from the Light Blade.
Yeah, as soon as I said what I said before, I regretted it immediately and just hoped for the best. But Doug,
welcome to casting. That happens so often. I imagine, Myth has said many things that he immediately regrets after the fact. Blazy has said Trebucket one too many times this week, and
I regret hearing that
surely
one.
he regrets that. It's right at this point. We've given him enough flack for it that there's probably some level of regret for bringing that one. But that's just Blazy Bard, and we love him for it. Hex Mambo do send their jungler towards right, but Kana able to walk away just fine. Look, at any team playing against Kana on this Bastet that's able to avoid a double kill like immediately in the laning phase
point.
is doing a little bit better than what we saw earlier on, especially with the style of the build. I mean, Soul Leader into Brawler, some good penetration, some good damage early on for Kana. Wouldn't be surprised if Deathwalker was feeling some pressure.
Kinside's already picked up by Echrome, foregoing the crit in the early game, so a little bit less objective DPS, but it will hurt Deathwalker, much like Connor is right now.
Yep, his dash doesn't matter. Sarpei walks over towards right, and it is not Kana dead for first blood. It is Deathwalker as the gank from Sarpei pays off.
Honestly, Dave, that's what happens when you get games this slow. You decide, you know what, I wouldn't have died to this 8 minutes ago because it was only 4 minutes in the game at that point. We still feel like we're there now because there's been no kills. I'm not going to use my beads. I'm not going to use my ult. I'm not going to use my jump. I'm fine. It's the early game. Oh, wait, it's been 10 minutes of nothing. I do
we're
die
out.
to this damage now. Bastet's got 2 damage items, both with penetration on them. I can't live through that damage.
Right, it's too much from Kana and Sarpei, and it's first blood to the back of Sura. Sura starting to spin those wheels up just a little bit here. Sarpei makes a gank to the right side work, and an early Pyromancer pull here for the Nifleheim Wargs. Hex Mambo lose their solo laner, but do not lose the Pyro. Kana nearly gets taken down as well. Hex Mambo steal away the objective, and that Fear No Evil, massive from Johnny. Preds maybe getting his abduct blocked off here by Trix Tank. Zeros rotates out of mid lane. Could be a kill on a Preds, beads, no matter. And Hex Mambo, a big answer back.
Now we get to see what can Mambo do with a lead. What can they do when they are accelerated towards that late game? You know, we've seen them be slow and just wait for the late game come to them. Now it's in their hands. They're getting closer and closer to it. I know it's only 12 minutes. We've got level 12s on these Boomba's Hammer gods.
They were a fifth of the way there.
Yeah, exactly. So are they going to keep pressing the gas pedal and saying like, well, let's keep this momentum going? Or are they just going to slow it down and say, let the late game come to us? Johnny, he wants what he wants.
Right, he is looking towards Sarpei here, who is quite low. Earthen Fury down from Trix Tank. Nice healing out of Sarpei. One more tower attack, not enough. And a tower dive, I'll call it clean because no one died, but it is successful regardless of which way you cut it. Sarpei falls, and the Hex Mambo have really roared back after an early stumble from Deathwalk.
Played well by Trix Tank there. You know, he didn't know. Can't talk anymore. He knew he
When
didn't.
you do it for 53 minutes,
That's how it works.
it's hard to,
I'm
it's
learning,
hard to
I'm
immediately
learning.
bounce in, right?
He knew he didn't need to do any damage there. He just goes in, pops the ultimate. You know, that'll do damage on its own. It also heals himself a little bit as well. Just tank the tower so Johnny can do the work and get that kill.
Yep.
Although it wasn't him that got the kill, it was the Trix Tank ultimate. So I guess he did need to do the damage. He just got lucky.
Give some pressure right back to Echrome, though it is Preds and Sarpei, or Sarpei rather, who ends up going down over on left, gives an assist over to Echrome. Spudio, a completely different, you know, I would expect slightly different build paths here and there from the Hunters, but it is two totally different mindsets. Echrome right into the chin size, as you talked about earlier on.
Yeah.
Crit on the mind of Spudio here.
Spudio-
So connecting onto Johnny, Zero's Echrome, maybe a little bit more impactful with those crits, though a nice abduct from Preds doesn't mean much.
Yeah, look, if we go back to that dual lane 1v1, if they decide to start hitting each other again, I think Spudio will win it, but he needs to get a crit like early on in those auto attacks. And once he gets that crit and gets that extra movement speed and attack speed, then he's going to start outboxing Echrome. Then again, Echrome still has that ultimate. And we've seen, I think it was Member earlier today, hit all 3 shots of those ultimates and get that solo kill in 1v1. But I would say for now, with the crit online, Heimdall has the advantage.
Echrome, though, wants to take this fight and ult
doesn't
out
agree.
from Spudio. A stun onto Preds and a root onto Preds as well. The abduct, though, enough to be defensive. Sarpei around the back of a couple members of Hex Mambo. Here on the left side of the jungle, we have a fight brewing over a purple buff. And Zeros is also here. So immediate numbers-wise, Hex Mambo a little bit stronger. Preds melting away. My goodness, chin size doing some work. Echrome does have ultimate. Might need it for disengage. Does need
Kana's
it
here.
to get up to the sky. Beads are off. Kana's rotated over from the solo lane. Snipes down onto Sarpei, and the Fear No Evil seals the fate of the Bakasura, but Kana finds an immediate answer onto Echrome. Scarab's Blessing does some work here for the Nifleheim Wargs. In goes Kana one more time, but when you lose your ADC, you might need to back off.
Such a close fight, considering that the whole time of that fight was a 5v4 as well. Meanwhile, Deathwalker just walking through the enemy jungle. He's already taken both back camps. He's just free farming, getting closer to that level 20 mark. In fact, he's losing minions, losing farm to this Trebuchet that is now pushing down his lane.
Yep. And so Deathwalker able to stick around, farm things up, feeling just fine with the way that's gone. Take some mid camps as well. Hex Mambo. Don't lose much for that, if anything at all, and actually maintain a pretty decent gold lead here. 3,000 or so at 15 minutes. That is good math by me. That was literally exactly 3,000 the moment they pulled up that chart, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Hex Mambo grabbed their 3,000 gold lead and continue to ride it forward. And I like the point you made earlier. Now we get to see what a late game comp can do with an even heftier gold lead now for Hex Mambo. They were able to put the pressure out over on the left side just a little bit further.
That's right. We've seen Mambo get to the late game, but always be down a little bit in gold, so they have to like make up,
back,
make up that deficit, and it takes them some time to really flex their skills of a late game team fight, but of a late game team comp. But now, when they don't have to wait that time, as soon as they hit level 20, they can press the go button, and I mean, at this point, they're going to be getting level 20 somewhat early compared to normal. They might go to Gold Furies and Pyromancers before that fight.
Yep. Been a big couple of games now from Johnny, regardless of how this one ends. He had just had a 2-level lead over Sarpei, call it 1.5 at level 16 to 15. Balanced blade for Sarpei, upgraded into the chin size. And so, you at least have one is it a pair of chin size? One set of chin size, maybe? I don't know, one item chin size for both teams. And some of it dealing damage to Preds right now. Scarab's Blessing goes out. It is procced. And shouldn't matter. Johnny picks up another kill. And the Hunbats we were just talking about strikes yet again. 103 completed the hi-rez on the last back. And now some serious damage rolling out of the jungle of Hex Mambo.
Important for him to hold on to that ultimate as well, because if they want to look towards this Gold Fury, which maybe that's not what they're going to do, they already secured the Trebuchet, and that's good enough for them. But if they wanted to fight for this Gold Fury, he still has his ultimate while Kepri's not around, so that would have been great for him.
Johnny able to hold on to the Fear No Evil. Could prove worthwhile over on a Gold Fury fight. The rest of Hex Mambo rally around their jungler. Why not? That's the place to be next to the Hunbats, who's 103 at level 16, and a Gold Fury somewhat simple for Hex Mambo. Everything we saw in game 1 is happening now, but it's accelerated by about 20 minutes. The Fury calls, the objective calls, the invades, the fights, all of it happening just a little bit quicker. That was a decent rotation earlier on from Kana, and maybe wanted to get some stocks on this Hide of the Urchin. Not an item, Ro, that we often get to see, but maybe Kana scrapping a little bit more often, feeling like he'll get some value.
Yeah, look, I respect it if he wants to get the action going and get involved in these kills and get some assist kills to build up those stacks. That would be great, but it's really hard to get value out of that item if he doesn't get to that point. Normally, I'd be safe going something like a Mantle of Discord and just spending a little bit more gold, but basically getting that guaranteed stat item.
You think that means he rotates out earlier on here? I mean, we're already at level 17, right? You're going to be rotating out soon anyway, I suppose. But
we just saw him, pushing up the lane while Deathwalker started half rotating to Gold Fury already. So like, looks like rotating not necessarily on his mind. Granted, Preds was dead at the time, and I believe Echrome had spotted Spudio backing, so they just called the Gold Fury while Preds is dead still or was coming out of base, and secured a free one for them. So that's that's a decent lead for Hex Mambo at this point in the game.
Right.
Deathwalker taking some poke. He's not going to worry about it too much. He's worrying about his farm though, and doesn't want to get away with it.
What an obnoxious combo that is! I'm just set back and forth. I'm going towards a Hades and out of a Fear No Evil, and now I'm dead. And that's all Kana can think about for 45 seconds. Everything Johnny has touched has turned to gold here in this game. 100% kill participation. Trix Tank just 1 kill shy, and it's the one that just happened over on right. The initiators for Hex Mambo have really started to swing. Now Zero's jumped on by Sarpei, but good damage returned from the Merlin, and Sarpei has got to leap away, unable to match the pressure of Johnny.
Look, Wargs are a resilient team. We saw them last a long time until last night, just as production did here and your casters did here. But now is a whole new challenge. They know they're up against a late game team, and yet...
Oh no.
Oh no.
What? Oh, we got you now.
got
Can
me
you
now.
say something?
I can say something.
I can hear you.
I'm
So,
back.
so you're good. We're speaking of the resilience of the Nifleheim Wargs.
Yes, look, they're up against a whole new challenge because now the pressure's on. They know they were going to be fighting Mambo in the late game, but if Mambo gets to the late game first and Wargs still aren't there, that's a whole new challenge that they haven't had to deal with yet in this matchup. And that being said, they're also up against the ropes. If they lose this game, they're out.
That's true. This is a high-impact game and a high-impact deficit that the Nifleheim Wargs are fighting up against right now as Hex Mambo continue to put out the pressure. We crest that 20-minute mark. Primal Fury waiting to respawn. Normally, we're wondering when the first Gold Fury is going to get pulled right around this mark. A Pyromancer could be considered over on right. Level 19 hit for Deathwalker. Build looks eerily similar to what we saw last game, but just a little bit further along.
Just needs another
because of the way that this
700-ish
game has
gold
gone.
as well, and then he'd be able to get that Boomba's Hammer online. I think that's what he's farming for right now. Should be able to finish it around about the same time that Gold Fury is coming up, so that might be, it's a good time to be a Primal Gold Fury as well. If he can get that farm, get level 20, secure that Primal Fury for his team while the enemy team hasn't scaled as much as he has, then they can take the enhanced DPS over to that normal Fire Giant and maybe get some towers down before they start looking at an enhanced Fire Giant.
And then Enhanced Fire Giant 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah,
Stuff like that. It might not matter.
I look
right.
forward to those.
Right. Echrome with a full item advantage over Spudio right now. Though Spudio has like 2,000 gold in hand, something like that. But immediately in lane, Echrome with 2 levels and a hefty item lead will just sit back, farm up a little bit, realizing that the Nifleheim Wargs could be anywhere on this map. Though cooler heads prevail, I would have rolled in and probably died for it after missing every single auto attack. But Echrome upgrades that starter item and is able to extend the lead just a little bit further over on left. And so despite a starting in a difference of build at the start, Spudio's going to get ganked here by Johnny. Beads used, but how about the damage from Johnny nonetheless? That is a long Bifrost as well.
I think it was so long that Johnny's teleport actually expired because I thought he had the monkey on Spodio's head there and could have teleported to it, but it was
so long.
but it had been on there so long it got bored and leapt off.
Yeah, it was a Bifrost, an equivalent length is what we got last game in total game time. Spudio underneath the tier 1 tower. Zero's able to back away. Now we have seen a couple of times where Sarpei jumps on Zeros, and Zeros just has
relics.
ridiculous DPS, and Sarpei has had to look elsewhere.
Yeah, that was also a Bastet ultimate through the wall, try to, when Zero's least expecting it and get his beads and Aegis. But hey, Aegis gone from Zero's, that's a definite opportunity. That's, beads can only do so much against a Bastet and a Bakasura. You're going to take that damage regardless, right? So if he doesn't have an Aegis, he needs to get peel from Trix Tank in these team fights if it's forced soon.
Right, you got to find your advantages somewhere, and the Wargs have a potential for one over in mid because Zeros is, even though the mindset hasn't been centered around the mid lane, Zeros is scaled up just fine. A couple stacks on the Charon's coin and well underway in that build.
Speaking of scaling, we've got Deathwalker accelerating his scaling by selling his Bancrofts and getting onto that Boomba's
So
Hammer.
even when ahead, he's willing to do that.
Yeah, maybe it's
Is
a strategy
Bancroft
that
just
I
like
don't
a
know.
laning item in his mind there? Is
guess,
that what
and-
you take from that?
Yeah, when he's level 20, he's decided I'm not farming anymore. Somebody else can do that. My turn to play the game.
Right. Zeros is going to be doing a lot of the magical damage. Don't need the
That's right.
Bancroft. Bumba is just that good.
Yeah.
Sells it off. And I actually think it was the exact same sell
was.
last time
It
where
was.
you sold, upgraded, and then a tier 2 cloak anyway. So that's still some value
Yeah, I don't
for
think he
Deathwalker.
actually needed to do that as well. So maybe he's just saying, you know what, I don't need damage at all
Or they want to do this.
because I need to tank this Fire Giant. I need a tanky item.
Hex Mambo pull a Fire Giant in 23 minutes. The Wargs could make a play to bring him right back into this game. Sarpei finds a backline, and it's a big ultimate from Sarpei, but a better answer from Johnny. Forces the Bakasura up and over. Scarab's Blessing. Brock snipes 2 and 3. One is good, the other's not. But how about the root down from Trix Tank on the other end of the fight? The Wargs actually having a decent second wind here in this fight. Somehow no kills get dropped. Still healthier though, our Hex Mambo.
Yeah, I mean, wow, what has happened this fight? It has been a whole lot of everything and a whole lot of nothing. No kills at all exchanged between the two. A whole lot of damage on the scoreboard, however.
Yeah, a lot of damage numbers being added up. All 10 ultimates get used in this fight, but Nifleheim Wargs don't end up losing any of their team members, and I thought there was a moment where it could have gotten turned around onto Hex Mambo. And I think that really does show you, Ro, just how obnoxious that Scarab's Blessing can be. Because that should have been that was a dead to rights Bakasura, just pulled back to the rest of the team there for the Wargs. Fire Giant low yet again. Kana jumps in, doesn't steal it away, and now Kana has to leap away from the double stacked ultimates
Chase.
of Hex Mambo. Preds Didn't have Scarab's Blessing back, and Hex Mambo able to grab the big objective and a kill nonetheless.
And we were wondering what we might see out of this team when they have a lead and they get to that late game well before the enemy team gets to the late game. And they recognize it immediately and pull the Fire Giant, not once but twice in the span of 30 seconds. We did not see that last game, so I'm glad to see it this game. A great idea by Deathwalker to sell that damage item and tank up the Fire Giant and force the issue.
And I like the way that Hex Mambo are continuing to force the issue a bit here. There's no Preds for 15 seconds. It took long enough to get some of these towers knocked down in game number one anyway, in 50 so odd minutes. Let's take as much of an advantage as we can on the map. A low investment push there onto the tier 2 tower in mid. Sarpei might need to be careful here, though. Somewhat mobile on the Bakasura, has speed buff and should be able to walk away. And now a chance to reset for Hex Mambo with 2,000 gold or so for everyone but Johnny.
Yeah, at this point, they've got enough time on this first Fire Giant to almost guarantee, bar a mistake, almost guarantee that they get all the gold from these towers on the map, and that would give them a great advantage going into this EFG in another 5 minutes. Even better, they may be able to push this left lane and maybe get a Phoenix, if not some poke on the Phoenix. I would love to see a Phoenix because that would speed up the game itself. I'm sure Hex Mambo would love that as well, because the more they can force Wargs away from their late game, which honestly Mambo's I think is still stronger, the easier it is for them to win these team fights.
Right, but anything can, you know, it's a loaded dice maybe. Hex Mambo could have the better composition, but whoever presses their buttons better. Right? Scarab's Blessing, yeah, I'm mashing my ultimate right now if I'm Preds, and at this point, scattering away. I'm trying to look at the minimap here. I'm not sure what Preds is up to over here on right.
Honestly, the credit goes to Mambo for this, because normally most teams, they back and reset and send their gold and go straight down the left Phoenix, and that's what Preds was expecting. So he's like, well, I'm under-leveled. I'm 15. I'm level 15 while Trixtank's level 18. I need to go get some farm. That's why he was pushing the right lane, expecting Hex Mambo to be the left.
Echrome jumped on in mid, but Echrome survives in mid, up to the sky. One good, two, yes please. Echrome hits him, and Sarpei heads back to base for a minute. Could be an immediate rally for a couple Phoenix pushes here for Hex Mambo. Preds down for 8, and Sarpei a hefty 45-second death timer.
Yeah, they're calling over Deathwalker right now. He's walking straight through that tower and coming towards the mid lane. They know they've got the 5v4 opportunity. Mid lane Phoenix isn't always the one you want to siege, but you know, when it's open and they're in a 5v4 scenario, you got to take your chances.
Got to take your chances, and you're going to have a mid wave here soon enough for Hex Mambo. Deathwalker and the rest of Hex Mambo walking into the base of the Nifleheim Wargs, far ahead of the Wargs here in game number 2. Could knock out the Wargs from this tournament with one good team fight. Preds, Beads, Scarab's Blessing, all of it gets used, and then an abduct away. And a nice start to the fight here for Hex Mambo.
Yeah, but the problem is this mid lane Phoenix is not easy to siege. The damage comes from all directions. It's really, really hard, you know, to make space and get your ADC to hit that Phoenix. It lost maybe a tenth of its health there, so they're just going to back out, go towards a tier 2, get that guaranteed gold, and carry that advantage into the enhanced Fire Giant.
Hex Mambo will back away, and you're right, with a minute and a half left on the total respawn, but only 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant buff itself. Hex Mambo will take a breather. Far, far from a nothing, a non-setup FG. They're able to totally expose 2 of those Phoenixes, and you're right, back away and get ready for Fire Giant number 2, Enhanced Fire Giant number 1.
Gold.
And this is the beefiest lead that we've seen in this set so far. I mean, we were much, much closer in game number 1. Come Enhanced Fire Giant time. Should be a moment where Hex Mambo are still going into this next objective with a massive lead, maybe forcing the Wargs to make a play happen. Echrome gets jumped on, but kind of read this moment. At this point, just waiting for the rest of your team to get here. Forces the beads is Deathwalker, and Zeros has found the damage. Are we even getting to the next Fire Giant? Spudio has to ult away, and there will be a chase down from the rest of Hex Mambo. Bifrost and Spudio the other way. And now Preds is gonna be the one to get run down. These death timers are gonna feel so long. Have Hex Mambo done enough here to maybe walk into the base?
I mean, look, Spudio is buying time, and there is some towers up, so this Phoenix, and, well, yeah, I guess they're going for the left Phoenix. This Titan will not be easy to take down, but maybe they can get a left Phoenix even before this Enhanced Fire Giant.
You gotta get a Phoenix, right, at least, when there are 4 members dead of the Wargs here for the next 30 seconds.
I imagine so.
Gotta be a Phoenix call, and we'll see where the confidence lies, depending on how fast this Phoenix goes down. How gutsy are Hex Mambo feeling? Because those death timers will get a lot shorter here in just a moment. You want to give over an enhanced fire giant for free. And so the call is indeed left side Phoenix, back away, and then rotate over to the enhanced fire giant. Do you feel like that's a desperation moment from the Wargs? We are losing this game handedly, and we need to find something.
It's a desperation moment, but it's also not a bad time for it. That fire giant still wasn't up yet. You know, they couldn't end the game immediately. They lose a big objective in that left Phoenix, but that's only because it went so poorly so quickly. Spodio was able to buy some time, but it really wasn't much in the end. After those deaths, Mambo had a lot of time to get that Phoenix, and Fire Giant really has only just spawned, so it was perfect timing for them. I didn't mind the idea from Warg to try to catch somebody out there, but Mambo were ready for it.
Brutal game for Preds here at 0-5. Sarpé has also had a tough go at 1-4. The Boxer just hasn't found it. Could, though, be a turnaround if Kana can make something happen or not die, at least. How about the snipes from Echrome? They've been good so far, and they continue to be good. A pick onto the Warg solo laner could convert into a much easier enhanced fire giant as Hex Mambo yet again have found a pick on a member of the Wargs, and Hex Mambo, make no mistake, around the EFG early. Scarab's blessing, movement speed helping, but how much will it help? Delayed out by Hex Mambo. Preds falls, angry, dies as well. Spodio back into the Bifrost, and Hex Mambo, playing from elsewhere in the world, have just put down the Wargs and should advance and should send the Wargs home.
It's almost like Wargs got fatigued after all of this, after all the play from yesterday's long last game. They were fighting from a deficit almost this entire game, and eventually just make a few poor mistakes at the end, and Mambo run away with the game.
Hex Mambo snowball this one to a 31-minute win. That's a snowball win nowadays. Johnny seals the deal at 4-0-9. It was a great showing from the Wargs here this weekend. Resiliency for sure. What a storyline for that team. Play a total of 7 out of 7 possible games yesterday, well into the night here. Angry is playing until like 6 a.m. This Wargs team really impressed me with how they're able to step up and play some good games of Smite. But I am doubly impressed at Hex Mambo, I think, here, Ro, because they're playing from Ping. This is a team that struggled in the EU SEC. And now they're only one best-of-3 away from advancing to the next round.
And look, we might complain about the long games and the somewhat slow early games. You could call it boring or not, but that's their strategy, and they're bringing it to the table. It's working for them. You can't judge them for it. This is a competition after all, and now they've made it to the next day.
It is a clean and calculated brand of Smite that has been paying off very well for Hex Mambo, and pays off yet again here. Unfortunately, that sends the Hex Mambo home, or no, sends the Wargs home, sends the Hex Mambo on to our next best-of-3 of the day. I clearly need a break, and that means we're going back to the desk to break this one down.
Thanks, Dave. Not David, or even Dawson. Dave, this time around. I'm not angry at you anymore. I hope that you know that. And I'm sorry. It's going to be, of course, myself, Blazybud, and Trelly Relly here to break down that last game. And Trelly, it's a surprise to see Hex Mambo win a game in under 30 minutes.
40?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there was, 30, yeah. First of all, way more kills than we would have expected, for sure. And they said don't front them. I believe Rose said don't make fun of them for that playstyle, but that was not the playstyle we expected. They got active a lot earlier. They looked very strong early on in that game. They didn't wait until 40, as you mentioned, and they really just brought it. Everyone just looked real solid that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And from a team who are, as you know, Dave said in his sign-off there, on the other side of the world for the most part. This team is not in the studio. They are playing on Ping from online, and truly, they are looking really strong despite that.
Yeah, and they've been looking strong towards the end of the season as well. It was more so the early stages. I think they were looking for their identity, really trying to figure out how this team would work. And now that they have been, playing together for quite some time, I think they really meshed into something strong. They've created this own little style of meta, and it works out clearly, as we're seeing against the Nifleheim Wargs, the #1 seed in EU, and they're able to take them down. Not only for the first time, this is the second time they've been able to do that.
And just running along with Akrom here, truly some great plays coming out from this Hunter player who, for the most part, is the most junior member of this team. If we're talking about previous SPL experience, every other member of this team having some form of tenure, Akrom really stands out as the newest member of this team.
Yeah, it's got to be intimidating going to a roster like this that way, but
For sure.
you wouldn't be able to tell because he's playing at a level that looks like he's been doing it his whole life, essentially. Great stat lines the whole way. I mean, 3 members, those ones in the middle, Johnny Zeros and Trix Tank going undying. Just possibly, that it took a while. The Wargs have played a lot of Smite here, and just like the casters mentioned, should not be disappointed in their performance at all. I think they looked extremely strong throughout this whole tournament.
No, absolutely. You have to respect the resilience coming out of this team. It's just a shame Angry wasn't able to get his sun buff. It's got to be sundown over there in Romania. Wasn't able to play through the night until that sun came back up and gave him his advantage like we saw last night.
So you're saying that any player playing underneath the sun gets a buff?
Hey, listen, man. The sun gives you energy. Sun is life.
Bro, we're gamers. We don't see the sun. I don't even know what grass feels like.
Second hand, it comes through the window sometimes, right?
Oh, that's true. I guess that is
you
what
got
sun
like
is.
blinds on you. You don't see the sunlight outside ever.
No, I literally cover my window so
Right.
sun will not enter
Really
my room.
thick
Yeah.
blanket style cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside there. Well, fantastic. Let's have a look and see what the Mambos have got to do next, because they're still not quite out of the woods, unfortunately. For the Wargs, they will be going home today. There will be no more attempts for them. But the Mambos will now be going up against the Kowloon Wardens. You might remember them from our last set there, where they lost in that 2-1 situation to the Eldritch Hounds. These two teams have got one more best-of-3 set today to compete for that last spot for tomorrow.
One thing the Mambo and the Wardens have in common, they both were able to take on the Wargs today and win, so they've got some practice. They both know what they're doing, and neither of them are going to be going into this cold. They both played some competitive Smite today. It'll be an interesting matchup here. EU versus NA once again. This is not EU versus EU anymore. Now it's going to be one more time EU versus NA in this matchup.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there is still very much a chance for us to have that split representation going into the SPL teams tomorrow. And that is a reminder for you guys at home. After we come back from this next break, we will be seeing who is going to be going up against the Scarabs and the Valkyries going into tomorrow. But we need 5 minutes, so come back in that amount of time.